marijuana. I had to tell you that.
Yeah, you're gonna make me cough the rest of the night. Oh.
Yeah, that's what he said. No, that's alcohol.
Like I said, I wouldn't bet money on it, but, well, maybe I would, but it doesn't matter now, so I just
Yeah.
feel bad for him.
Yeah, it's irrelevant, but
I don't think he was adult. I mean, could have been much older than me, or you.
that's all the time. I'm like, how's that person dying so young?
Yeah. There's some movie star, 50s or something.
Good evening. We'll now call the City Council regular meeting to order for March the 11th, 6 p.m. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation will be given by Reverend Beck.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for another glorious day that you have given us. What a day it is that we can marvel at a loving Lord and loving Creator, all that we have and see. And Lord, as we enter into a time of business in the life of our community, I pray for our leaders, Lord, that you have placed here to lead this great city of Avon Park. I pray, as always, that we would be a people that would have a fear of God before we would have a fear of man as we make the decisions that we know we need to make. And Lord, as we conduct this business tonight, I do want to lift up Stanley and the physical infirmities that he is facing tonight. And Lord, I pray that you would just touch and heal him in a very special way. And again, Lord, we thank you for our community, and we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Mr. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Councilmember Gray,
Here.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
The quorum is present. Mr. Spurlock is not with us tonight.
Sorry, what was that?
Mr. Spurlock is not
Got
with
it.
us tonight.
All right, first up, we have the consent agenda. We'll be looking for a motion.
I just would like to make a comment on the minutes. Actually, no, we're not doing the minutes yet, are we?
Yes, we are.
No, we
Yes.
are. Never mind. Okay, yes. When votes are taken, it just says 2 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention, and even though we know Ms. Gray abstained from that vote, it doesn't really specify who yayed and who nayed. Can we please have accurate who actually makes the votes in the minutes rather than just arbitrary and capricious yays and nays?
Sure, we can do that. Anything else?
I just had a question on D9, on the staff update of the minutes, and it talks at the bottom that Mr. Helms walked the council through a spreadsheet listing the positions. I wasn't here at that meeting, and from what I understand, a spreadsheet was handed at the meeting. So the public didn't have an opportunity to look at it. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but the spreadsheet is referenced in these minutes. Is there a way that I could get a copy of that spreadsheet?
The spreadsheet was with the minutes, that was with the original agenda packet. I changed it at the last minute, just the figures on it, but the spreadsheet was the same, except the fact that we didn't have a negative impact of $50,000. It was more like 23 or 24,000.
Okay.
But yes, I will get that to you.
Yeah, please. I get questions to get the packet sent to people, which is why I request it via email, because I know you can't post it online anymore. And when I send it out, I usually send out whatever you give me, I send it out as well as part of the transparency.
We do get the packet now.
I know,
Okay.
we
I
do
mean,
now.
On the website.
No.
No, you don't.
Just the posted agenda, not the whole packet.
Correct, it's
I'm
just
sorry,
the
I
agenda, but the
apologize.
actual
Yes.
packet,
Yes.
this is not online.
Yeah, I got you.
And at that meeting, the presentation was extremely thorough.
It was.
So we all have a firm handle on it.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
No.
Be looking for a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes of February the 25th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under Citizens and Outside Agencies, we have Kathleen Border, Chief Executive Officer for the Ridge Area ARC. Request to approve the proclamation. Care to say anything about that?
So yes, March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. I'm with ARC. We're also partnering with Heartland Horses and Handicap. We appreciate your support with the proclamation. We also want to announce that you have been scarf bombed. So that's essentially like getting assaulted with kindness. If you go down the mall, Main Street, you will see that there are scarves on the light poles, most of them. The idea there is really just an awareness event, and I'll bring you the scarf and the tag so that you can read it while I talk.
Okay.
So it's
Oh, wow.
It's a twofold hope. One, we hope that we generate some advocates for people with developmental disabilities. They get to know who we are and who Heartland Horses is. We also hope that they walk the mall. We want them to eat at the Jacaranda. We want them to go visit with Mr. Jeff Roth and look at their finances. We want them to stop in and see George at the chamber. So our hope is that they will take selfies, they will take a scarf, and they'll get to know who we are, and we can generate some advocacy for developmental disabilities. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very clever, by the way.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
love the concept.
Jerry, will you please read that into the record?
What's it back?
Whereas Ridge Area ARC and Heartland Horses are involved in advocating for programs that promote positive system changes that allow persons with developmental disabilities to dream, believe, and achieve their personal individual greatness, and whereas Ridge Area ARC and Heartland Horses encourages all Florida citizens to actively participate in the events that appropriately recognize and celebrate Florida's diverse population, including persons with developmental disabilities, and whereas Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in March has been established to promote awareness and understanding of the opportunities, challenges, and needs of persons with developmental disabilities, and whereas Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month also recognizes Florida's public policy accomplishments concerning persons with developmental disabilities, as well as identifying the improvements to public policy that are needed to ensure that all Florida citizens with developmental disabilities have the capacity to lead a full, productive, and engaged lives. And whereas it is necessary and appropriate that local communities such as Avon Park support the mission and purpose of Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month and encourage their citizens to recognize and respect this important commemoration. Now therefore, be it resolved by Mayor Garrett Anderson of the City of Avon Park that March 2019 be recognized in Avon Park as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you again, Kathleen Border. We appreciate all your efforts. Up next, we have Kellyanne Catanzariti, Community Volunteer Leader for Florida's Coast Heartland Red Cross Chapter. And I hope I got your last name right.
Really close. First, I want to thank you so much for recognizing the American Red Cross. I am a local volunteer from Highlands County. I live here and I work here. Most people, when they think of disasters and the Red Cross, they think of hurricanes, sometimes volcanoes, sometimes wildfires. But the truth is, what we mostly respond to are the small house fires that go on. In last year alone, we responded to more than 60,000 of them. And what that does is displace people from their homes, sometimes for as few as 3 days, sometimes for months, maybe even a year. What we're doing here in Highlands County, we're still recovering from Irma. And I did want to make you aware that long-term Irma recovery assistance is still going on. My husband Fred is the local coordinator for the Red Cross for that. So far this year, we've given out $250,000 to local residents in Highlands County. We are going door to door, and we are calling people to make appointments to see them. And if we are able to see them, there is an immediate $2,000 worth of assistance we can still provide. We have a FEMA list and a Red Cross list. That means they've already been vetted with us. If we meet them and we determine that there are still some additional needs, we can make a case to provide additional financial assistance. We're hoping that you get word to your constituents here in Avon Park that this is not a fraud, it's not fake, we're really doing this. I met earlier today with the information officer for Highlands County. She will be putting information out on the website and getting the word out to the public here in Highlands that this is what we're doing. We've given $650,000 to Habitat for Humanity here in Highlands County, we meaning the Red Cross, for them to help people rebuild their homes because there's still a big need, and we're just wanting to spread the word. So thank you for having us here, and thank you for recognizing our proclamation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jerry, you will.
Okay. More than 137 years ago, the American Red Cross was established as a humanitarian organization guided by 7 fundamental principles, including humanity, impartiality, and independence, to provide services to those in need regardless of race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or citizenship status. Today, the American Red Cross is one of the largest humanitarian organizations in the world and delivers its mission every day to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies. Every year, the American Red Cross responds to an average of more than 62,000 disasters across the country, from small home fires to devastating massive disasters. Last year's large crises included mudslides in California, a volcano in Hawaii, wildfires in Colorado and California, destructive hurricanes in Florida and the Carolinas, and devastating typhoon in the U.S. territories. Thousands of American Red Cross volunteers provided around-the-clock shelter for disaster victims, served millions of meals and snacks with partners, and distributed millions of relief items. In Highlands County, the Red Cross has a long history of helping our neighbors in need. Florida's Coast to Heartland chapter assisted with 113 local disasters in the past year alone and helped save lives through our Home Fire campaign. Since the campaign launched in October 2014, the chapter has worked with community partners to more install 2,900 smoke alarms, making households safer. Meanwhile, in our area, the Red Cross handles an average of 600 emergency military calls every year. March is Red Cross Month, a special time to recognize and thank Red Cross volunteers and donors who give their time and resources to help members of the community. The Red Cross depends on these local heroes to deliver help and hope during a disaster. We applaud our heroes here in Highlands County who give of themselves to assist their neighbors when they need a helping hand. The American Red Cross shelters, feeds, and provides emotional support to victims of disasters, supplies about 40% of the nation's blood, teaches skills that save lives, provides international humanitarian aid, and supports military members and their families. We dedicate the month of March to all those who support American Red Cross mission to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies. Our community depends on American Red Cross, which relies on volunteers and the generosity of the public to perform its mission. Now, therefore, I, Garrett Anderson, Mayor of Avon Park, by virtue of authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of Avon Park in Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as Red Cross Month. I encourage all Americans to support this organization and its noble humanitarian mission, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 11th day of March in the year of our Lord 2019, and of the Avon Park, Florida.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for all you do. Next up, have item number 7, Avon Park Camp Association.
Hi to all. I'm the Buildings and Grounds Supervisor for the Avon Park Camp Association, and we have roughly 100 people stay in our apartments on the north side of Lake Isis, and they all cross over. Most of our activities are on the south side of Lake Isis, so they're continuously traveling back and forth across Lake Isis, so that's the reason for our request.
Okay.
Approximately 2 months ago, we had an elderly gentleman. Most of these people are elderly, and some of them see good, some of them don't. They're getting like me, I guess. But anyway, had a gentleman almost got hit by a car a couple of months ago, and that alerted me, hey, we need to do something. So hence I came and talked to the city manager, David Flowers, and that's the reason I'm here. We had 3 requests. One was the crossings at Lake Isis. We asked for walkways, or not, painted walkways we put in, asked for a 15-mile-per-hour zone limit for that area from roughly 27 up through about 50 feet on the east of Anoka Avenue.
Okay.
I think that's basically all we had requested. We just need some help in handling the pedestrian traffic across Lake Isis.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. By the way, we're celebrating 80 years here, so we don't plan to leave either.
Right. Now, you guys have been an integral part of Avon Park, and we appreciate everything you guys have done so far. And just for the record, this is Tom McCann
That's
of
correct.
the
That's
Avon
correct.
Park Holiness Camp. So, David, what is the current speed limit on that road?
25.
It is 25 now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's more of an enforcement issue or an actual speed issue?
Actually, I think he's within a reasonable request to ask it to be 15 through there.
Mhm.
Because it's not a very long distance, and the way that road curves there and the amount of traffic that's generated there, especially during this time of year, I don't think it's an unreasonable request at all.
Okay. Now, as far as the crosswalks, it looks to me like the one closest to on Morrison Avenue there. It looks to be following the sidewalk. Is that correct?
Now, it's a street.
Right. There's a sidewalk before and after Morrison Avenue there. It looks like they're requesting a walkway that goes across there, or
That goes across Isis Avenue. Yes.
across Isis. Got it. Okay. Just the way the map is
And
drawn
both
in.
of them, the one on Anoka as well, because they have a lot of people go down to the lake and stuff. There's a little gazebo and all that there, so they're requesting it there and at Morrison. The Google map actually shows that as Delaware.
Got it.
I'm not exactly sure if it's been changed to Morrison, has it? It's not Delaware? Okay, so it is Morrison.
Okay.
So anyway, they're asking for a crosswalk in those 2 locations, and I don't have a problem with that either. I think it's a good idea for safety purposes.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to comment that the 15 miles an hour is even less than school district limitations. But so I'd like to check and make sure that you're under the statute allowed to lower it that low.
15 is the school zone, by the way.
Oh, is it for here?
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably okay then. It's what the ones I've seen have been 20.
Yeah, it's 15.
They may have it, but not everyone adheres to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Right.
it's not my.
Well, I'd just like to
Not
say,
my area.
I met with Mr. McCann, was it Friday, Saturday? What? Thursday, sorry. And they have more than just these issues that he's suggesting here. And I know that we have a new civil engineer on board, and I was hoping that perhaps he could go down there and meet with Mr. McCann and go over the same issues that I saw. They have the problem with the Highway 27 hump coming onto their street. If you
Right.
go down there, you'll see the scraped asphalt of people's fenders.
Yeah.
And while we were there, there must have been maybe 4 or 5 cars that literally went like that. And
Many tons of trailers have been lost at that spot.
Right,
Including
so-
my own.
wow.
DOT
So that's
is addressing
one
that.
issue. The asphalt, just take a look at the scraped asphalt, and that was ever since the road of Highway 27 was built up. Also, when 27 was built, they cut off a little off-ramp, so to speak, from their parking lot. So now there's this stop sign that pretends it's going somewhere, but you can't go beyond that stop sign in their parking area. And then they also have a problem that when cars are at the stop sign heading north, just south of the stop sign, heading north on 27, if they are in the very front of the row of cars waiting, they'll cut in to their road, go through their parking lot, and then go and cut north so that they avoid the light. Those opportunistic cars are doing that, and that's dangerous to what's going on there as well. So there's just little malfunction junction going on there that I think really needs to be addressed. I also noticed, and they noticed it as well, there's a cracked sidewalk left over from where it appears that when the signalization was put up, whatever heavy equipment was out there cracked the sidewalk, and it's trip hazards everywhere. The standalone stop sign to me is a big problem because, like I said, it makes it look like there's a road there and there isn't. A curb has been built onto Highway 27, and anyone coming out of there is going to be blinded by that. And then there's another little stop sign in their parking lot that doesn't even aim right. It's faced north almost where you can barely see it. So there's just two issues there, and I don't know if those are city right of way or state right of way. Cracked sidewalk, I got that part, but more than anything, I think that their issues are very important. Also, on the corner of where they are on Anoka and Lake Isis, the stop sign is about 20 feet off of where Lake Isis is, so cars actually stop at the stop sign, and then they have to go a little bit more for about 20 or 30 more feet and stop again, because there's a hill right there, and it's quite confusing, and cars end up in the middle of the road on Lake Isis Drive. I saw it twice while we were there. So I just think that just walking there for a half an hour, you will be enlightened of the problems that they have. And anyway, I would just hope that perhaps our engineer could go down there and take a look and walk with them, because you'll see the traffic patterns are just really messed up.
Okay. Anything else to add?
I'll just say that obviously the most important thing for the city as well as any place else is safety first.
Mhm.
If this is going to make it safety, I'm all for it, and I think the rest of the council will be the same way.
And
Yeah.
can we get suggestions on whether or not we just, a speed sign versus speed bumps?
No.
No speed bumps.
Not even bumps, but those little itty bitty ones, they brum, brum, make that little sound when
rumble
you slow
strips.
down?
Yeah.
Yes, those, because I mean,
Yeah.
we have those around town
The
as
rumble
well.
strips, I know a lot of times that you have to be going a certain speed for them to be
Right.
effective, But a lot of people have issues, with speed bumps. It's kind of, they complain of the damage to their cars and things like that, and if there's an accident caused by it and stuff
So the
like
speed
that.
signs are better?
The thing that I see here is it's so close to 27 where you have to stop regardless. There is no circumstance where you're just going to be
Yeah.
shooting across there.
Mhm.
So it's really not really putting anyone out to be going slow through that region.
But how do we address the issue of Highway 27 and that massive bump that's right there as well? Because that is
We've
a
already
major
addressed
safety
it.
issue. Pardon
We
me?
have already addressed it. DOT is going to correct it.
Right. And isn't that something that DOT has to
Creative.
do? There's really nothing that the city
That is
could
correct.
do.
At first, they denied responsibility on it. We met them out there, showed it to them, and they said, yeah, we messed this up. We got to fix this. So it will be taken care of.
Yeah.
When, I can't answer.
Right. As far as actually putting the painted crosswalks in, that's something that city staff would do, obviously?
That is correct.
Yep. Is that something that could be done pretty quick, or?
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
I just
So-
had one question. Are you going to put a crosswalk at the bottom of that hill?
Bottom of what hill?
Well, it's actually it's inclined right there at the corner of Anoka and Lake Isis. It comes down, heading west. It comes down. Is a crosswalk good to put when you're coming downhill?
Mr. McCann, would you come back to the podium, please? We put these where he requested them. So maybe, do we need to look at that with an engineer's eye to see if that's the proper location for it there at Anoka?
Yes, if you'd send the engineer out, then I could work with him and we'll pick out the spots. We
That-
haven't detailed anything.
You preferred that location because that's where they're crossing now, is that correct?
That's where they're crossing now. We have a gazebo there.
Right.
And a lot of the people go across there to the gazebo.
Okay.
And if you know, well, it does come down I'm coming west. I'll give my orientation here.
Okay.
I'm coming west, but it does sort of come down to Anoka, and where the crosswalk would be. And
I
it's sort of
was-
a curve. This curve
Mhm.
comes around.
Right.
and
Okay. I was actually going to do this later in the meeting, but I'll take this opportunity to introduce you to Ronnie Jones. Ronnie is our new Director of Infrastructure, a civil engineer. He started with us today and has his hands very full already. So, Mr. McCann, I will give him your name and number and have him contact you later this week, and we'll see if we can find a solution for you as to the best location to put the crosswalk.
Yep. Any other questions for me? Okay, thank you.
I just have a comment. So 316.189, can't look at the context at this moment because I'm not signed into Westlaw, but this is just from the Florida statute. It says municipal speed, and the title is Establishment of Municipal and County Speed Zones. Municipal speed, maximum speed is 30 miles an hour, but a municipality may set a maximum speed limit of 20 to 25 miles per hour on local streets and highways after an investigation determines that such limit is reasonable. Now, I can't tell you sitting here yet, contextually, what that simply means as to county roads passing through cities like 17 and 27, or whether there are a lot of limitations as to what we can do with our streets and roads in 316 that are not, necessarily associated with DOT. So I need to check into that. I just want to make you aware of that potential issue that we need to resolve before we make that change and order the signs and all that stuff. Okay, thanks.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes,
The 15 mile per hour is not a big thing to us. If we had speed bumps there, just something to slow the traffic down, basically what we're looking for. So if 15 mile per hour is an issue,
Yeah.
we're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm sure in a lot of cases, new paint, new signs, new enforcement, it'll get the message across. Something we might have to reoccur every once in a while. So, sure we can handle that. All right, so I'm sure this will be coming back to us probably next meeting, or
You can approve it tonight, and we can go ahead and make it happen at the appropriate locations.
okay. But with that, I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that, what am I making a motion here to change the speed limit to
Change the
15?
speed limit and install 2 crosswalks.
And install 2 crosswalks at the locations depicted in the photograph that was provided by
Tom McCann.
Mr. McCann. Wasn't Tom McCann a shoe store?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, we have item number 8, George Karas, the Avon Park Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, Council, Mayor, Administrators. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you today. I'm here, as it says in the agenda, seeking assistance, consideration of assistance to support the Chamber operations, the Chamber of Commerce. And this request was created in many ways, shapes, and forms over many different requests over the last couple of years. Because of the changes in city administration, CRA not functioning like it had been, a lot of our concerns about operations have kind of come to the forefront. And although we're doing okay, it's really difficult, after talking to the city manager and some other people doing some research, to no longer have the relationship that apparently the city had offered the chamber for decades annually. And I'm going in my 3rd year, and we're going to make it work. Got 28 new members in the last 12 months. The city's doing well. We're optimistic, but it's hard from an operations perspective to grow an organization and maintain sustainability, and also, obviously support what the city needs and promoting the city. So we're here today seeking assistance from you.
Okay. We have any comments from the council?
Well, I recall about 20 years ago, the chamber used to get funding from the county, and it was considered a membership in a sense, and they used to give $2,500 to each chamber in the entire county. And then each chamber would provide a rundown of all the activities that they did. And then when the CRA was created, I know that the chamber allowed the then executive director of the chamber, her name was Maria, and she worked on on the CRA as well. And then the CRA started building up its money. And as time went by, there wasn't anyone to run the CRA for a long time. I know what you're looking for, and I think that it's a very valuable program that he's offering. And one thing I do know is that, on the agenda tonight, I know that we're talking about the autonomy of the CRAs. And this is right up their alley in terms of economic development and, recruitment and retention of existing businesses. just yesterday I heard that, 8,000 jobs will be lost in the state of Florida due to closings of many big box stores. And I don't know how that's going to affect the small guy, but I think we're going to be really focusing on having to put more businesses on Main Street and keeping the ones that are there. I'm very pro-business in that sense, and I'd love to see downtown get fixed. I have one question, and you're going to hear me bounce around a lot. How do you validate CRA money when your representation of your membership is more of a county level? CRA money can only go into the district in which the money comes out of.
Well, in coming to you today, it's twofold. If you go the CRA route, you have valid concerns, and quite frankly, I think in terms of line item budgets that I've seen, that money was just set aside. It didn't even stipulate that whether it was CRA or otherwise. That was the trend. I knew that had gone out of existence with Mr. De Leon, at least towards the end of his tenure. So I could probably substantiate CRA funding, but you talk in terms of our 200 plus members. Many of them do actually come from Avon Park, although we are all over the county. So because the CRA hasn't met or had a quorum for so long, because of their vision and kind of bylaws I'm not quite familiar with, perhaps like I should be at this point because it's changed so much, I wouldn't know how to, in this conversation, direct funding. I just know that we'd be at the direction of the city and provide services for the city on behalf of the city with city assistance, be it from the county, as you're suggesting traditionally, or from the money that perhaps has been historically given to the chamber. I do look back at other budgets, and having not received the money that is noted, I guess it either moved around or we didn't receive it. But I have information that would be helpful probably going forward I can share. To me, that was money that helps us do our job for the city. But because everything's been in flux and so many changes of positions in council and CRA, it really hasn't been able to be allocated to us.
Are you saying that money was at one point dedicated to the chamber and that you never received it?
Well, we didn't receive it. I do have information. It's just simply this public document of money that was allocated.
So that was a budget?
Yeah, it's a line item in a budget.
But who did the budget? Was it the council?
8/31/17.
I think it was requested.
Oh.
It was requested through the council that was here, and I don't know if do you remember that,
Yeah, I can't remember her name now. There was
the other one before him.
Right,
She
a woman.
did do a
Laura.
budget. Laura, there you go.
No, it was
Wait.
after her,
Laura.
after Laura.
Oh,
The one that went to the Sebring Airport. She left
Yes.
here and went to the airport.
Yeah, that one.
Finger, Melissa Finger.
Yeah.
No, this is the year afterwards. This is after we received that CRA money from 2016.
Right.
That was when Ms. Sutherland was on the council. De Leon, they passed that. We received that money, worked for the city, substantiated all the work we did. That was fine. This is from the fiscal budget for the last year that we just got out of. That was
Right.
prepared right before Mr. De Leon left, I guess. That's part of what we all got.
Right.
Now, we didn't get it because, actually, communication was good, but people were leaving jobs, people were changing jobs, the
Right.
CRA didn't meet. So it doesn't say there that that's CRA funding, that just says money put aside for the chamber. So I'm not understanding how that would have been allocated,
Right.
but it wasn't.
Well, I know that under Melissa, she did get that money.
Yeah, actually, she was approved of it. The chamber, my first year, received that after doing work for you, but this is different. This is another
Right.
fiscal year. But the other years that we haven't gotten the money to.
No,
that's
I
just
understand
because
that.
of-
I'm just
Yeah.
simply setting the precedent that at
But yeah,
one
we
time.
did receive what Melissa did.
Right.
It was approved upon and voted city council, I think 2016, I passed that on before.
Yeah.
And we're thankful for that. And I want to come across very grateful, because I am. It's just that when you cross your T's and dot your I's, the councilwoman talks of a budget. Rural economies are a little bit different right now than the big city economies are doing really well. I'm just looking in the future, every piece of ephemera that's passed out, every pamphlet, every tour guide. I mean, that's every fundraiser driving out to Florida Flowers. I don't even have someone really in good faith that I could hire right now. So operating wise, to do the work of the city, I think it would be in everyone's best interest to, if you can,
George, are you a one-man show, or do you have the board support
I
that
have
they
a
can
great
do
board.
economic development? I mean, do you
I
have a
a great
little
board.
sprinkling of everything
I
that?
do have access to really great visions and advice, but I have to do the luncheons, I have to do the events, I have to do the cross. I have no people power, if you will.
So I know that you're talking specifics for Main Street and stuff, but,
Yes.
the autonomous board has not been created yet. It hasn't even been approved to be autonomous as of yet. But if that's the direction that the council ends up taking tonight, because I know that's on the city manager's report.
Okay.
If that's the direction they take, it was my hope that once that board is created, that they hire an executive director or a consultant that would manage the programs of the CRA that are included in the plan. And then as well, also assist Southside and Airport.
Yes.
Because the three of them all need that level of hands-on. And I just keep going back to that whole premise of, you cannot use this money for your other members that are in Sebring, or even people that are outside of the CRA districts. And how are you going to account for that? And then the other thing is how are you going to account for Florida Statute 119, which is public records? Are you going to leave the books open? People can walk in, do requests to you?
Sure.
Those types of things. And I think that that's going to be kind of tricky, because that's the reason why the CRA fell out of the chamber about 15 years ago. It's because of the public records.
I would actually go beyond that. and say,
Yeah, and the meetings.
Well, the issue with the public records is we have a requirement that we put a provision in our agreements with anybody that provides services to us that requires that they keep public records if the Public Records Act applies to them, or the records that they keep. And some of the records clearly would. So I assume that this has been an agreement in the past, that you all have signed an agreement?
I don't know. I wasn't
Okay,
aware
well,
of.
it needs to be an agreement, certainly for that kind of fund, those kind of funds anyway. And it shouldn't include that provision in it as well.
I don't remember an agreement being signed since I've been up here. I do remember at one time that, her name was Melissa.
Melissa.
She came and just before she left, she did a budget and she asked the council for some funds. It was not approved. And I think right after that, when you came aboard and you asked for some funds and it was approved, we gave you
No,
some
ma'am, it was
funds?
actually approved in 2016 city council meeting. Melissa, before she left, it was approved for $15,000, I believe, or $14,000. I think it was $15,000. But when
Maybe
I
it
took
was.
over, I found that paperwork and I brought it back to the attention of
Yes.
people, and it was
And we did
allocated.
give it to
And,
you.
well, I worked for many months with
Yeah,
CRA people,
that's
so I
true.
did it.
Without getting
And
paid. I'd
And we
like-
did give it, right?
Yeah, I'd like to say something positive about George Karras. Up until this year, I was the city liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, and that's how I got exposed to George and our chamber. And to be honest with you, when I first started going to the meetings and the luncheons, we probably were lucky to average maybe 20 people, 25 people at the luncheons. And since George has positioned, especially the last year, those of us that go to the Chamber's luncheon across the street, I mean, we're averaging probably close to 60 people. And I think it's a positive thing for him that he has brought people from Sebring into our chamber, but all the work that he does, as far as I can see, is for the city of Avon Park, promoting it, because when I look at his service costs and paying him for 15 hours worth of work, I bet he does twice that amount of work.
Oh, I have no doubt.
And I think that in the near future, we need to consider not only giving this George a raise, but I definitely give him credit for moving the chamber forward to where it is today. And I'm quite proud to still continue to go to the luncheons, and if I need to go to the meetings in the
Appreciate
future,
that.
I'll go to the meetings also. But I think he's moved the chamber
I appreciate that.
twice as far as it was when I first started.
It's a group
in
effort. I got a
2000.
great board, a lot of
Yeah.
good people, and I appreciate
Yeah.
your interest and
Yeah.
the city's support in general. I'm just, as a 501c6, but typically like a nonprofit 501c3, as you know, our calendar year ends, our membership's like 70% pretty much of how we survive. And then that, after salaries, expensive, IRS, sometimes as much as $1,000 a month, depending if you have 4 or 5 paychecks, that eats in away at your bottom line come May. And the process, so I think what the chamber's been doing in its defense, even with the volunteer board and executive directors coming and going, is that they squeak by, they get by, and then they get back on time. And everyone's okay with that. I'm thinking if we're doing the work for the city and we'll continue, any assistance you can provide us would be greatly appreciated, even if it's not in the form of maybe how I envisioned. It may not be appropriate or meet your needs, how it was presented to you back in September with Ms. Fisher. I'm just in a situation where I want it to grow, and I want to sustain, and I want to help the city, but I need to be able to grow the organization, the nonprofit, on behalf of the city.
Well,
for the city, with the city.
I'm more than willing to, to speak for George. I think that he's fought tooth and nail for Avon Park in many ways, and I'm just not 100% convinced that this is the way to get the most out of George. I believe that you have been the driving force, behind the efforts of the chamber lately, and I'm wondering if it would not be cleaner to simply have him as a part-time employee of the CRA rather than sending CRA dollars to the chamber.
And that's kind of where I was going as well. I think that, it would be incumbent on the chamber to allow him to use their facility, I guess, to do what you want to do. I see you walking the streets all day long. I see you going to restaurants. I see you doing all those things that you talk the talk, and I appreciate that. And I'm not just saying that, but it's true. You really have made a big difference there. I'd like to see more of that, but I'd also like to see that throughout our 3 districts, not just one. So, if you end up doing this, I think that the autonomous board, again, if we head that route, would have a lot of say on how that would happen, because we have facade grants. You have to inspect things. There is more to it than just, getting money and putting on a pretty pamphlet. And the marketing aspects of it, the social media aspects of it, all of those things that draw attention to, our commercial cores, because we have more than just one, are really important, and they all have to feel that they're all getting the same effort. In the past, we've had a $40,000 a year consultant that worked on CRAs. He did all 3 of them. We didn't get a lot of traction because he wasn't here that long. But, and in the past as well, the city has paid staff over $50,000, half of it being paid by Main Street, a quarter by Southside, and a quarter by the airport, with absolutely 0 results. So, we've got to do something, and it's by no means that anyone did anything wrong. It's just that we didn't have the right people doing marketing and things like that. I saw one of our chairs there of our Southside CRA sitting there, and they've been wanting people to work on weekends for events and things. So, if this is something that we end up doing, this isn't an 8 to 5 job. This is part-time, but it's weekend work. There are activities on weekends, setup, breakdown, and all that stuff, coordination with the city. It's more than just marketing of a pamphlet. So, we want to bring more events to town. You have to know where every single plug, outlet, and water spigot is on the mall. Really.
Yeah. Well, it would come down to, does he have any flexibility with the chamber to even hold another part-time position? And is the chamber willing to allow that, for one? And because it's not really a full-time job, like you say, what we're looking for. But if I had to pick a perfect scenario for CRA, I would have someone that works for the CRA that is very well versed at the nuts and bolts of the grants and the really hard paperwork side of it, and then have someone who is well versed in the marketing, because those 2 positions are very much different. And if we had that combo.
Well, those are the technical aspects of it, that all it requires is a little bit of reading and some common sense and a pleasant disposition. I think those are the important elements of any good person that's going to be out there promoting Avon Park, whether it be, again, be the airport. What are you doing? You're thinking. Well, your head's out there going like that.
I appreciate everything I'm hearing.
But you see, it's
but I'd be kind of remiss if I didn't focus back to why I came to the podium tonight. And I
can we
very
do
much
this?
appreciative of what you're saying. But ultimately, I guess my impetus for coming here and talking to the city manager prior to today is to get money for my organization right now.
Right.
And if it can't happen, if it's totally something you can't do, we'll continue doing work for free, like we have been. I'm just thinking realistically, it would behoove everyone, even moving forward, to any other CRA group that meets or a new board that's created to advance the city, and we're on the same boat. Then fine, and I would have to take that up with my board, my president, and I appreciate where this conversation is going to, and I'm sure there'll be other people interested as well.
Well, can we not make a decision tonight about this, only because once we have autonomous boards, then they would have more flexibility to make the decisions amongst themselves? Because if they end up doing this, you would be reporting, or the chamber would be reporting to them.
I believe I would really have to run that past my board, of whom my president is here, if he wants to come up and
Well,
speak,
either way,
maybe.
whether it's you or them.
Yeah, well, he speaks on behalf of the board, and he is here. Maybe if you allot him a few minutes
Sure.
to address.
And George, and while he's coming up, I just want to make sure that I understand. You are asking for the $24,570. What are you asking for?
27,550.
Huh?
27,550.
570.
27,570. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Now, I just want to say one other thing also. We get requests from the Historic Society to hire somebody there as well. They've been looking for a part-time person from the city to sit there and also take in, because they see a lot of tourists and local people as well, so anyway, that's just a comment I
Before
wanted
we
to make.
steal your employee, why don't you talk to us?
For the record, I'm Jeff Roth. I'm the chamber president this year. And so George and I have kind of vetted this discussion pretty intensely in the past. Having worked for government in the past and in the public, I think we could all agree that when you're in the public's eye, you're open to lots of criticism. Would that not be true? And so, in being a little bit protective of George, and I'm one of a proponent that I think he's doing a great job. I think he has gained a lot of momentum for the county, a lot of pluses. I, for one, would like to, find an avenue that we could not only increase his salary, but also to what he's worth, but also to have some additional staff there so that he can get out of the office. But with that being said, it's hard to serve two masters. And so what I've told him in the past, I would much rather see us being able to vet a contract or some kind of an agreement between the city and the chamber, because if I'm sitting at the chamber office, am I working in my CRA position and being criticized for the people who are contributing to his salary through the chamber membership, or am I working on am I working as the chamber director, and somebody comes in with a CRA, hey, when are you going to work on my stuff? And so I just think it would be a little bit more fluid. And again, being a little protective of our director, if it was more of an agreement between the city and the chamber, just so that there was some good, clear oversight. And I can see him being pulled in 14 different directions. Why aren't you working on this right now? And the other part is, if we're working on CRA business at the chamber, if it's an agreement with the chamber, well, that's just part of his duties. But if it's not, then, what are you using? Does he have a separate computer for, when he's working on CRA business? You see what I mean? Yeah. So if it was an agreement with the chamber, it would be more of, well, that's part of your duties. If it was a second job, then does he go somewhere else to do his second job?
Right.
But the conundrum is, first of all, I have to ask the city attorney a question. We don't have our CRA hats on right now. This is not a CRA meeting, this is a council meeting. So can we even decide on anything tonight without being CRA?
No.
Okay, so.
But with all that being said, I am very motivated to work out a good, amiable direction between both of our organizations. I mean, we're all here for the same thing. We want more tax dollars. We want more businesses in downtown Avon Park. I've been here as long as most of you all sitting up there as well. I mean, I want to see Avon Park, of my childhood, where I could walk to pretty much anything I needed to in life.
So Jerry, if, let's just say they took it on in the way that they're requesting, and you gave them a global check and they did whatever they needed to do, does the chamber become a pseudo governmental entity with these funds, and are their books open, including the chamber books, not just the CRA?
I think it's entirely likely they won't become a pseudo public agency, but the records associated with the work that they do for us would most likely, in my opinion, become public records. And we would have to have an agreement that provided that explanation in it, which was added 5 years ago.
So would they have to announce their meetings as public meetings?
No, it doesn't make them a Sunshine Act.
Okay. Or their members, there's no issue with their members either, communicating about things because they're,
Well, I don't know what they might do with regard to that aspect, but I'm not aware of any Chamber of Commerce being considered to be a Sunshine Act agency. Now, that's not impossible because there has been a homeowners association that became a Sunshine Act agency because they were delegated authority by a county to the homeowners association to make decisions on building permits, and that delegation made them but here we'd be talking about, just under the Public Records Act, the provision they call acting on behalf of. That's the term of art. A city. So they'd be acting on behalf of the city in certain ways. So those records would be, in my opinion, public records, and we would have to make them aware of their obligation to do so, and they would have certain obligations to us with regard to public records by virtue of that act.
so if you ended up hiring somebody with these funds and this project doesn't work, that person's out of a job. There's no guarantee that that person would be in there permanently. So what happens to the money then? I mean, how would you continue to create your programs? I mean, would something stop all of a sudden, or?
Well, I
mean,
think
I
that's
don't
a little
know-
bit too far in the future to kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the deliverables and
we could
stuff.
go 1,000 different directions of how things
Yeah.
could play out. I'm very familiar with Sunshine Law, and certainly, I think as a kind of a pseudo-public, I mean, I don't know of anything we have to hide, so it's not that big a deal to me. I can't speak on behalf of my board. I'm just one vote, but I don't personally have an issue with it. I try to be an open book, and life is pretty dull.
The requirements for the requirements for being a Sunshine Act agency are more than simply being open with the books and everything. It really involves notice and things like that.
I think that's the part that would be a little bit difficult, is if
don't-
we had, if I couldn't communicate with another member of my board without having a public notice, and I know that's part of Sunshine, so as long as that wasn't, an issue, I think it'd be fine. Like
No,
I
I don't
said,
think
I
it'd be-
don't, I can't speak for the rest of them, but I don't have anything
I don't think
to
it'd be any
hide.
different here than it would be for a museum
Yeah.
association or engineers. We include in all their contracts, because they do services for the city, we include in all their contracts that provision. And so I don't believe that there's any argument here with regard to that being a pseudo-governmental agency that's required to do the Sunshine. But I don't know any of the other things that you do, but by this, I don't see it at all, not even close.
And I think to kind of a little bit answer your question, Marie, is that, obviously there's been nothing vetted between us yet, but I mean, we would want to head down a sustainable track.
And
We
So
don't
this
want
is
to
Main
just.
Street only?
Yeah.
Because it looks like that's pretty much where you want to go, is only the Main Street area? Because that's the funding from the Main Street CRA district. Are you saying that you're not wanting at all to be involved with airport or Southside?
That's where I was going with that.
I live in Avon Park.
So what I'm getting at is,
I mean,
all
my
three-
passion isn't just for Main Street. I'd like to see Main Street, be revitalized a little bit, but
I think a lot. I'd love to see
a lot, yeah. But I don't want to. I mean, I'm just talking for me personally. I don't want to see the airport excluded, nor do I want to see the South Side excluded on anything.
Yeah, I think what they're saying is they're going to help a business that
Yeah.
wants to go in front of Walmart just as much as they're going to help a business that wants to go on 17, just as much as they're going to help a business that wants to go downtown. It doesn't matter to them. They're going to help business in general.
But if the CRA is paying for it, then the preference should be the district in which that business is looking for, and it should be tailored to those areas. We can't be giving them money and having them put businesses in a non-district, in a non-CRA district.
I would be interested to see what is the historic funding from Avon Park to the chamber. to see what we've done in the past, say,
It
20
hasn't
or 30
happened
years?
in a decade,
Well,
other than the time that Melissa was there.
Beyond a decade.
So I think the challenge would be just putting in the parameters that for the time that George would be working on those issues, that it would fit within the CRA guidelines, but that it wouldn't be exclusive of everything that he does, or that the chamber does. Does that make sense?
Well, it doesn't have, I mean, we're also limiting this discussion to only CRA dollars.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
No, it
In
doesn't.
the past, it wasn't.
I
Not
didn't
always.
know that. Okay.
So, but we can see that. But what I would be curious from the city is to see what we have paid, or maybe it's easier for you guys to look, I don't know. But one or the other, to see what from the city of Avon Park and what from the CRAs has been paid to the Avon Park Chamber in the past, let's say, 20 years.
I think it was like $500,000 a year, wasn't it?
And I thought it all
Yeah.
came
Pretty
from
sure
the
that's
city.
not
It
accurate.
come from the CRA?
Well, I don't know. That's what I want to find out.
I thought it was city funds and not CRA funds.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
We'll
That's
see.
what- I
That
could
was
be wrong.
I was not at the meeting, but that was my impression, is that it was correct, that it was, I was under the impression that it was city general dollars,
Yeah.
not specifically
But way
CRA.
back when, it was from the county and the city, then the
Yeah.
city only gave, I think, $1,000, and Galen may remember that, and then the county backed out entirely from it. So, I mean, it's waned over the
Yeah.
years.
Well, I'd like to find out. Also, Jerry, in all of your professional career, have you seen similar situations? And what were the where a
Morphine.
city or a CRA was paying funds to a Chamber of Commerce?
No, I haven't seen that. But
Barcode.
it's not, I mean, anybody can provide services, you
Right.
know, and so, I mean, I don't consider it to be odd. It's just that the quasi-public, becoming a quasi-public agency,
Yeah.
you know, is an issue. You know, once we look at the contract, and there has to be a contract, then we look at the services they're going to provide and now evaluate based on that.
Right.
So we'll know before it's completed.
Well, since we can't make other than a city financial, we can't make decisions for the CRA because we're not wearing our CRA hats. That would have to be from the CRA itself, and they're
Publicly
not
noticed, right?
everything. Yeah, for that discussion
right.
item.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think that there's time to kind of tweak the plan a little bit and maybe some alternates, because I mean, it could morph.
We want to be a
Flexible.
partner with you.
Yeah, and so do we.
I mean, we want to make it work.
Right. Okay.
We're not looking for a reason to, to say, no, we can't do this, so.
Right.
Danielle just informed me that we can only go back to the year 2000 to find out what was paid, so we can go that far. I can
19
tell you,
years
when
in.
I was on the council in the 90s, it was like $4,500 to $5,000 a year that we gave to the chamber regularly.
And what was the premise behind that?
Marketing.
Marketing,
Mark?
yeah.
Well, we've had endless conversations between the CRA has as well as the council about having a marketing person, about having event coordinator, you know, different types of situations. It's clear that the city needs that type of service. It's just up to us to find out what is the best.
Right, and I have no
Situation.
problem with the chamber doing that. I think you're the best equipped to do it. You've got a membership of how many? Okay, so those are all the brains you can pick in terms of assistance on creating programs for events and things like that, along with the current events that we do have, and perhaps encourage more and bring more people downtown. But it's not just downtown, it's also the south side, and it's also the airport. So if we end up only focusing on Main Street, then this has to be retooled a little bit, because who's going to do the marketing and economic development for those two other entities? So, and this individual, in my opinion, if they're going to get funding from the city and CRA, we don't know who they're going to give their reporting to and who's
Right.
going to be giving them the direction. I would prefer that it be the CRA, even if they get city money, because they're better equipped to do that. I think the CRA themselves has, retired teachers, retired business people, pilots, people that have gone to CRA schools and things like that, that could assist in all of the endeavors that the chamber also wants to create. So, like I said, I can't make a decision on CRA money right now because we're not wearing that hat, but if we want to go that route and at least say, okay, once we create our autonomous board, which hopefully will be tonight, or at least get the ball rolling in that direction, then we're looking possibly at maybe a month from now before something concrete is done, hopefully by the fourth Monday of April.
So in the meantime, we will try to get the information from 2000 to present about the historic funding of there. And
And there would also, by the way, have to be coordination between you guys and the city, because at some point, those records, well, if they're only meeting on a reimbursement basis, then they would just be submitting invoices to the city of Avon Park. So, you know, it's going to come down also to who takes the minutes of the meetings of the CRA board. You know, is that something that you guys are going to do, or are you going to expect that city staff is going to do that and you just show up and give your happy numbers? Another thing to be considered.
It sounds like we're at least have at least a consensus that it would be feasible for us to be able to flow an agreement through the chamber, so that way George isn't answering to 14 different bosses. Does that
I'm
sound feasible?
100% behind that.
Okay.
But we still have to tweak the areas of need and, you know, the technical aspects of the CRA and the plan. I mean, it's a 140-page document for the Main Street. It's about as long for South Side, and the airport's like longer. But again,
Yep.
it's a moving target right now, but I'm behind the whole concept of the chamber lending this support.
Okay.
keep you posted.
Anything that you need us to work, because we have a board meeting tomorrow morning. So any like homework, next step, is there anything that you need from us as next step?
You can go online to the city's website and look at the Main Street, South Side, and Airport plans. Those are the Bibles for each one of the districts that tell you what the projects and scope of future work is entailed. And by reading those and familiarizing yourself with the districts themselves and their boundaries, it kind of gives you an idea of exactly the scope of what this is. And then also looking at one of the facade grant applications and seeing whether or not that's something you want to tackle.
So, based on the discussion later on in the agenda tonight, you're not looking for us to construct a document to bring back to you at this point. That's probably something that will flow from you, not to you.
Yeah, and I think talking to Galen and Gerald as well, between the two of them, both of those are the individuals that were chairs of their respective CRA districts, and they can tell you the needs that they have from the marketing aspect.
Let me just say also that I'm giving you an update on where we are tonight. I'm not expecting you to vote on an autonomous board tonight.
Right.
Just
That's
giving
okay.
you- Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Bless.
Thank you, George.
Thanks a lot, and I do appreciate your time. If this doesn't work out for some reason, I'm sure you will find the right people. But again, I want to bring it back home before I leave this podium. If we're doing so much that we're doing for the city, I mean, Councilman Heston, June Fisher, they had me sending stuff out on a regular basis. I've done that. I documented. I said, that's when we weren't getting funding, and I'll continue to do it. But if there's any kind of funding you can provide the chamber so we can best do our work to help the city, even immediately.
What are you sending out?
June and Councilman Heston had asked me to send out a form letter with links to the city and different places to visit with a map of Avon Park. June allowed us to put her name as a correspondence, and we were sending that, but that was the other city council.
Do you have a constant contact page from the chamber that you send out to members, or?
No, we have email blasts out of Outlook.
Are you familiar with constant contact?
Yeah, I've worked with Constant Contact. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, a lot of it goes to junk mail. It's a headache, but
Because
it
that
works for some people.
would be one of the marketing requirements.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's
Or
5
some
seconds.
sort of thing like constant
Yeah.
contact.
Okay, thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
And if you can help us, please.
And there's
by
a
all
chamber
means.
luncheon next Thursday?
No, the 28th.
28th.
With Pinecrest Golf Course, and I'll be sending emails out to everyone for that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
George.
George.
I think it's called Sand Hill Grill.
Sand Hill Grill, now, right?
All right. Next up, under administrative, we have the request to approve the Avon Park Rotary Bluegrass and Blueberry Festival in Donaldson Park, Saturday, April 27th.
Let me say that this issue is not actually complete yet. They haven't done the event form that's required. But what we're looking to have you approve tonight is the road closure that they're going to need. They still have to get an event form, and they still have to get a request from CRA funding as well. So that this whole thing is not complete, but just the road closure aspect.
This
of
will be
it.
the same road closure as last year?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So just a question, who's in charge of the law enforcement responsible for traffic control? We have no law enforcement other than the sheriff, so are they gonna sign off on this?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
The temporary closing of state road permit from the DOT's format
Uh-huh.
that requires the name of an agency of law enforcement and for someone to sign off, when you go down to signatures of authorization, it asks for the event coordinator, law
Yep.
enforcement, and government official.
Yeah, they'll have to go to the county. That's what everybody else does.
So I know that you can, I'm sure someone from the sheriff's office, Anne Marie, I don't know.
While she's
That's your
walking
job.
up, I just want to reiterate that if this $2,000 is a cash payment, anytime we make cash payment to anybody that, such as a 501c3 or a 501c whatever, we need to have an agreement with regard to how it's going to be used. And if for some reason the event is canceled, then it comes back to the city.
Jerry, there's an application form that they fill out. Would that suffice as an agreement?
Well, we can, if you want to use that, we can put the provision in there.
Okay.
Because it doesn't require a lot. It's not like it's a 20-page agreement or anything like that. It's just, yeah, that's.
I believe it's a reimbursement thing. that we
They
have-
provide invoices.
And the identification is also
Yeah.
included in there? All right. Probably good, but.
All right, Anna Marie, set us straight.
Anna Marie Feeney, 234 East Camphor Street, Avon Park. On the subject of road closures, there's a difference between road closures and lane closures. I found this out through the FDOT. Okay, if it is a full road closure, law enforcement must be involved. If it is one lane or less, they'll patrol, but you do not have to go and get police officers to watch a lane.
This is temporary closure of westbound outside lane on Main Street between Delaney and Verona.
So it's not a full
road.
road closure, it's just one lane.
Yep.
But we still need public safety.
Yes.
So who's in charge of
Well-
public safety?
Highlands
Yeah.
County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, they'll be patrolling, any event, they'll be patrolling around, they'll be
So
sitting there
they-
too.
They still need to sign off on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this can be signed off by the council because they need, the permit itself requires council approval minutes. So we can do this, but we can't do anything else because we don't have our CRA hat on.
Right, and you need to have all the other signatures there before you sign off on it.
You mean tonight?
No, whenever you get the CRA,
Oh.
meet as a CRA, you want to have the sheriff's department sign off and all that.
We're getting in front of this. It's 6 weeks away, but we're getting in front of it now, so we don't have to wait to the last minute to get the things done.
Well, then I'll motion to approve the temporary closing of State Road 64, AKA Main Street, as specified in the permit request from the Blueberry Festival organizers.
We have a
Lane
motion.
closure or road closure?
What's it say here?
Lane
Lane.
closure.
Temporary lane
closure.
closure, outside lane on Main Street between Delaney and Verona Avenues.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Sir, do you have a comment? You'll have to come up to the podium.
My name's Alan Ball from 139 East Circle Street. I'm speaking for the Rotary now instead of something else. There is no lane closure. We've never had a lane closure. The only thing we've ever blocked off in reference to Donaldson Park, and this makes the 8th year in Donaldson Park, is Donaldson Park itself. We've never blocked off any part of the state road whatsoever. So we've been around the law enforcement aspect of it, and the sheriff's office is in full accord. They'll have somebody wandering through. So just to clarify, there isn't a lane closure. If it's on our application, it's a mistake.
Okay.
And we can fix mistakes pretty
Yes,
good.
yes, we can. Well, Alice Oldham actually filled this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, she's burning her candle at both ends, so I think that's an oversight.
Okay.
You
as
know
far-
what? A couple of years ago, you guys used the mall for your event, didn't you? Is that?
We've had,
That
this
was-
is the 9th year. The first year we had it at the Rotary Building, we
Okay.
outgrew it, so the last 7 years, we've had it at Donaldson Park. The only thing we've ever done is blocked off, put cones across the entrance to Donaldson Park to keep people from driving in there. We've never had a lane closure, so really it should be a non-issue there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't even require any
correct.
But we
approval
do-
from the council.
Do we have to make a motion to close down the park for their specific use, though?
I don't think we did that before.
It depends on what your events ordinance says.
Well, why don't we do it just to be safe?
Okay.
Well,
And then
you
we-
can't do anything right now because you have a motion on the
Well,
floor.
let's just not vote on it.
Yeah,
Well,
you-
you
you're gonna
you have
need
to
to
vote
withdraw
on
the
it, it's on the
I
floor.
know, you know what I mean.
Yep, okay, so you just need to
Well,
can
let me put it to you this way. By closing that lane, it would in turn close that park because the road to the park is closed. So we've actually made a motion to go above and beyond what they're actually requesting.
But if you do the lane closing, you're still gonna have to get the county's approval, and if it's on DOT right away, they're going to need to get their approval as well.
Mm.
So I think it's better just to close the park with the motion like you originally said. Vote this one down, then do another motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Or withdraw the motion.
Can you withdraw a motion that's been seconded?
You always said that's difficult, right?
Yeah, well, it's better just to vote it down.
Okay.
I mean, you could, well, it's better to vote it down.
All right. Having said that, is there any other questions on this motion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray,
No.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Nope.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
No.
Mayor Anderson.
No. We looking
Motion
for a
fails.
motion to close the park?
I'll make a motion to close Donaldson Park for the Avon Park Rotary Club on April the 27th from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Under administrative item number 10, we have the request approval to release the request for proposals RFP for Program Administrative Services for the recently awarded 2017 CDBG.
CBDG.
I had a couple of questions on it,
Go ahead.
as always.
Go ahead.
It talks about an evaluation and selection process and that the proposal shall be reviewed by a selection committee. Is the council going to have to appoint, or are we going to, who's going to be on that selection committee to pick the consultant to do this work? Because that's in this thing.
I know that the council themselves picked the contractors at least 1 year,
Okay, well, this one has a point system.
right?
So we're going to sit up here and we're going to score, or do we want a committee or a group to do that?
It's up to us. When does this have to be done, or when would this be taking place exactly?
Well, it has to be advertised.
Right.
One of the issues I have on the next to last page under submittals, it says no later than 4 p.m. March 15th, 2019.
Right, so that has to be
That's
changed.
an issue there.
Yeah. Okay, so one at a time. For the committee, does the council want to handle this, or do we want to appoint a committee?
I don't think the council should handle this, mainly because this is a housing CDBG, and I don't want to touch any scoring having to do with anything where there might be any problem with any type of conflict of interest.
I agree.
Are you a contractor?
No, I'm not a contractor, but my point being, this is a small town, and we will know all the contractors.
I mean, we know everybody.
I know, that's the problem.
That's kind of the point.
Well, it's going to be based off of a scoring system anyway, so look, you know, if you guys want to do it here, that's fine, but you'll have to review all the contracts
Yeah.
and, you know, review them thoroughly.
Can't we simply have a staff member grade them for us?
You need a selection committee, you can't have just one person do it.
Well, how was it handled when you were here?
It was a council person, the city manager, another city employee.
Are you volunteering?
No.
Well, did you just go to school?
Yeah, but, you know, again, I will likely know every contractor that supplies one of these things.
Yeah, I mean, we all do, you know.
May I suggest that we make our new Director of Infrastructure one of the members, since he knows nobody here yet?
Sure.
Put me on it as well, and one volunteer from the council.
Someone from out there would be nice. That's just me. I mean, I just think, you know, for transparency and familiarity. I'll volunteer if you don't want anyone else up here. Pardon me?
You don't want a council member on it?
I'll volunteer if no one else from the audience wants to do it, but I think we ought to pick someone at large.
We have a volunteer, Mr. Gerald
Okay.
Snell. So is 3 enough, or do we want more?
Brenda?
No.
That was fast.
My hands are full, I'm sorry.
No, he was asking, is 3 members enough in your opinion?
Is 3 people enough to be on that committee is what I'm asking.
Oh, that's
I
fine.
think 3 good people are enough, and we got 3 good people.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So me, the new engineer, and Gerald
Yes.
will be your committee, all right?
Okay.
Put
Now
Gerald to work.
Now for the date issue. What should we be changing this date to?
Well, I think that There are other things in here that need to be checked off as well before you go down to the date. If you look at section 7,
Okay, can we just do the date while we're on it?
well, yeah, you can, but 7 comes before the last part of the page. The date is at the very, very end. If you just look at section 7, it says proposed fee.
Uh-huh.
It says that, blah, 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 address the different categories of CDBG as a project has not yet been selected. Actually, a project has been selected. It's a housing CDBG. So that has to be changed to housing.
Okay.
Also, where it says RFP requirements, where it says during the RFP process, any intentional omissions, I think the word intentional should be removed, because if someone purposely does something and you can't prove that they did it intentionally, like come in higher and oops, I put the decimal in the wrong point, it's a unintentional omission, then they get to go back in and bid. I think that it ought to just plain old be any omissions and remove the word intentional.
Any objection to that? I see none.
Thank
Continue.
you. Okay, so you've got your selection committee members, and then the following page, I guess tab 7, they're talking about in the 3rd paragraph, whoever put this together is saying that there's going to be tabs to the binders that are going to be provided with this information, and they're saying tab 7 is going to be the insurance requirements and the liability. I wanted Jerry to look at that insurance liability and see whether or not that was accurate for our legal reasons.
Okay, also, we copied this word for word from the last one that we used. We didn't just invent this. We used that as the format for this particular process.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the date, like you said. So it says here no later than 4 p.m. I guess we follow our procurement policy and put it out for 30 days and advertise it in a regional paper.
30 days from now, you're saying?
Well, from whenever they decided to put it out.
Okay.
So, I mean, if it doesn't go out tomorrow, you get the advertisement, it's going to take you a few days to get this to the newspaper and have them respond anyway.
Say 30 days
So,
from
I mean,
Monday?
they can pick the date.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd just simply say where it says the general liability insurance, I'd like to see also that the indemnification is required as well. You state that in there so that they understand that that's going to be part of the agreement.
Okay.
Indemnification?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't we have to, we'd have to pick a date so that we could vote on it?
Well, okay, so no later than 4 p.m., that means that we got to get our calendars out, and they've got to get their date of when they're going to submit this to the newspaper.
When are you going to submit it, David?
As soon as possible.
Well, we need a date so we can put it down and vote on it.
Can we give them some time to do this? Because if they put it out, I don't know that you'll get it ready tomorrow, but the newspaper won't be able to advertise it tomorrow if you send it to the paper tomorrow. It's going
Yeah.
to take them at least 4 or 5 days. They
We're-
review it
we're
back.
probably
and-
a week
Yeah,
off.
You're not,
Right.
you're be fine to let them go ahead and set
Yeah.
a date that's as soon as possible.
I agree.
Okay.
And then just fix a date for when it comes in.
Yeah.
Now, we can't post this on our bid page of our website, can we?
No. No, not until you get your website fixed.
Okay.
This document we can put on the website. If we keep it simple, as it is here, with no graphics or other text, we can post this one. It's
There's a
fairly-
bid section on the website, though, where you can enter things in, and it comes in, it's it's on the website. It's not a PDF, and it's not a what do you call it?
There's certain kinds of PDFs that are allowed.
Yeah.
But I'm just follow the ADA requirements is all you need to know.
Okay.
Okay.
So I had a question. So when you all get this document, this draft straightened out with all the correction on, you going to send it to us to review? Or,
We're talking about voting on it now.
and that's fine, I just want to see a copy of it
Yeah, of course.
with all the corrections on it.
It'll be posted online too.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Anything else?
Just one question. I had a question and it just left my brain all of a sudden. Oh my gosh, that's a rare occurrence.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the RFP for Program Administration Services for fiscal year 2017 Small Cities Community Development Block Grant
Do we have a second?
with the changes.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under administrative item number 11, we have the approval of budget adjustments, number 001-030519. Be looking for a motion.
Just to clarify, because nothing is online anymore and people can't ask, this money is leaving what department and going into code enforcement, right?
Yes.
So, okay. I make a motion that we approve budget adjustment
Read the number.
001030519.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions?
One
See-
more question before you
Okay.
finish. I was looking at the budget that was online, and for 15-16, the actual expenditures in the 12-10 account were 0, and then actually the 16-17 were also 0. So that seems to be a budget line item that gets money in it that doesn't get used. Can you look at that when the budget comes about, that fluff doesn't remain in there? Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have a request to approve resolution 19-02. We'll need to read that resolution, I believe.
These were some requirements that CDBG put on us to make sure we get included in order to fully execute the grant for the $750,000.
I have a question, David. I was talking to Mr. Helms about this. I understand we have $50,000 from SHIP funds from the county coming to this, but we got a contract from the county that has an open-ended dollar amount. Do you know exactly whether we got an actual 50,000 or if it's more than that as the leverage to the CDBG?
The conversation that I had with Mr. Helms last week was that it was $50,000.
Is there any way that we can capture more funding?
We can find out.
Okay.
So resolution of the City of Avon Park, Highlands County, Florida, adopting a policy for protection of individuals engaging in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations and providing for an effective date.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve resolution number 19-2 under item D12.
19-02.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 13, request approval to make minor modifications to the text of the City of Avon Park CDBG purchasing policy.
The same reasoning.
Okay.
And I have a question for Jerry. Could we, I don't know that our policy is identical to what is being required by the CDBG. I know that if your procurement is already compatible with this, then you don't need it. But do you know if it is compatible already where we wouldn't need to amend it?
We were just following the guidelines that they put in the packet.
Okay. And
Yeah.
because I know you were looking at revising some of the issues in the procurement policy, this
Right.
could be added to that, right?
Well, I think this needs to be passed now so that you can move forward on this, but I mean, I think we attacked the other part at a later date.
Okay.
'Cause we have the charter we're working on. I have a, working on a draft of that, so.
Okay.
Then we'll, but I know that my other cities have had to pass this as well, that use CDBG funds.
Okay. Having said that, we looking for a motion?
I make a motion that we approve item D13 under attachment D for program and special conditions to make minor modifications to the text of City of Avon Park CDBG purchasing policy / minority business enterprise.
Okay. Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions?
In regards to this, we had someone request a couple of months ago, maybe it was sooner than then, that we had to update the minority business enterprise listing, or at least a listing of potential vendors and stuff.
We did?
Didn't we? Am I dreaming that?
I don't know.
Didn't we talk about this?
I don't recall that.
Someone
but-
wanting to be on a vendor list?
I think that we did discuss about
Vendor list.
about a lot of people who applied to be on the vendor list and they were not put on there.
Right.
And so
Wouldn't that be an issue with
I don't know whether we
administration?
voted on it or not.
Yeah, I don't know that, I mean, the vendors list should be kept and they're, helpful.
Okay.
But with regard to minority business enterprises, and woman-based enterprises, those areas, they need to provide proof of that with their package.
Okay.
But this would cover it anyways, right?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item number 14, we have the request approval to initiate discussions with Highlands County to modify the RPAC agreement to remove improvements to Lake Tulane and redirect those funds to another recreational facility within the city of Avon Park.
So I have a question. What other recreational facilities do you want to redirect it to?
It's up to y'all.
And
How
I
did,
have a question.
how did this come about?
The
Property
Lake
ownership.
Tulane project is not city property.
Got it.
That's housing authority property.
Got it.
I have a question too, in reference to this. What projects, what was the project was actually identified for Lake Tulane?
I think it's
That's
Swing
before me, I don't know.
I'll tell you, it was for some playground equipment. It's a small playground setup. We
Okay.
have a picture here if you want to take a look at it.
No, I know what you're talking about. Okay, now my next question is, if those funds are directed to another area, how would that playground area get revitalized? Are they gonna come out of city funds, or are they gonna come from where? Are we
RPAC.
just gonna? huh?
RPAC. It's RPAC
Well,
dollars.
RPAC said they're not gonna do it, because RPAC, from what I read here, if I might be wrong, RPAC is saying that the project is not city-owned, the property is not owned by the city of Avon Park, so therefore they do not want to spend RPAC funds revitalizing that.
If you read what's written, it will tell you, it's a request approval to initiate discussions with Highlands County. In other words, they're wanting us to give them permission to go talk to Highlands County and see if they're willing to allow those funds to go to another recreational facility.
And I understand
RPAC
that.
dollars.
Well, can I just say one thing? I recall when we did a FERDAP grant that there was a letter from then city attorney, I think it was Disler. I'm not sure which one did it, but there is a letter somewhere that states that we own that property. I mean, otherwise, the state would not have given us money for that.
Thank you.
So it was donated by the housing authority at some point, somewhere
It is-
back in there.
It is titled Avon Park Housing Authority, not City of Avon Park.
But there's a letter somewhere from some attorney somewhere that states that it is ours. That they did some title or something. There was a title search done on that. If you go in the old FERDAP files, you'll find a title search, and
You'll need to have a quick claim deed
Yeah.
of some type in order to make that transfer through agencies.
well, this grant doesn't expire until what, 2020?
But you have like you said, a title search is what you need, basically.
Right, and one was done.
Okay.
But could it be possible that we do a title search and then just get that taken care of so that the money does remain in the area in which it was projected? I think that we still have a whole year before that money runs out.
We have someone in the audience. Arnold, name and address, please.
Arnold Davis, 1214 South Carolina Avenue.
Yes, sir.
I remember back as far as 1988 that the city, and well, a little bit before that, I can't exactly remember the dates, but the city have owned that ever since I could remember. I mean, they spent money. They had, way back, they had a basketball goal. They had a whole court out there, but it was pushed down because one lady wasn't satisfied with it. But I really would like to see the city fight to keep that and not let the county take it over.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that there should absolutely be paperwork. It's not something that can't be found.
Right.
So,
So I mean, a $300 title search, I mean, there's one somewhere at City Hall inside of a FERDAP packet.
do you know how
When
long
that-
ago that was?
It would have
Where you
been,
filed that?
it was upstairs in a big file, and from what I understand, all that was stuck in a box somewhere. God forbid anyone wanted to look at,
Do you know the date
successful
range?
grants.
The date range, do you know?
It would have been, let me think here, 2007, 8,
Okay.
or 8, 9.
And the title search was done at that time?
It was done at that time, and we own it.
Do you know what company did the title search?
The one that we usually used, which was
McClure?
Abstract.
Abstract. Okay.
Abstract title.
Islands Abstract?
Yep.
Okay.
See, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that should be relatively easy to locate. If it exists, it'll be there.
Yeah, and I don't know how much, I mean, the grant from the county says 48,000. I don't know how much of that was Donaldson Park and how much was Lake Tulane. There would have been on the proposal that the city made to RPAC, what amount was to each.
It's about $11,000 for Lake Tulane.
I'm sorry?
It's about $11,000 for Lake Tulane.
So that's a small playground. That's a tiny one. That's a
$11,713.
Yeah.
That was just to replace some equipment.
And then the rest of it was for Donaldson Park, right? I
Part
thought there
of-
was exercise equipment for Donaldson
There
Park.
is one component
That's what I
for
thought, too.
exercise equipment at Donaldson Park and a much larger project at MLK.
Okay,
For-
so what
for
was the
playground.
MLK project? Because it never went in front of the city, I don't think. That was a project proposed by staff, and then the county funded it. But anyway, what was the MLK?
Playground equipment. And it was approved by the city on February 12th. The council approved it.
So why has the rest of the project not been done?
It's been languishing. It was approved last February. And it's just, nothing's happened. And then back in November, there was an RPAC meeting. They look on your minutes there, the county raises objections. They say, well, the city does not have ownership of the parcel on South Tulane. And so they are asking the city to not move forward with that element of the project. And so there is a provision in the agreement that allows the city to enter into negotiation with the county to make modifications. So what we are attempting to do here is just open the door, get your permission to begin modifications. Perhaps we can do a title search and discover that it is our property. But there is an avenue to explore. Should they dig in their heels and say, or should the title search not come out in our favor, to renegotiate it so we don't lose the funding? So that was the impetus behind this.
So this grant
agenda item.
expires when?
1 year from this month.
Okay, so let me ask you, in regards to MLK Field, we now have a contract where we lock the gates, and the only people that get to use the fields are the ones that coordinate with a lease agreement with the city. So do we really need all of that playground equipment? I don't know how much dollar value was for the MLK Field. Do you know?
The quotation that was sent up to the county was for about $74,000.
74?
So where in the world is this $48,000
Yeah, well,
come
because
from?
that's a match.
It's 50%.
That's
Okay.
a match.
Okay.
So you have 74,000 for MLK.
Uh-huh.
There was 11,000 for Lake Tulane,
Yes.
and then the rest was Donaldson Park.
That's
What was that
correct.
amount?
Well, there are two separate elements to that. One is an Exopod, which is for $22,000, and an energy set for $23,000.
How much?
23,498.
So, okay, so we've got 55,000 for Donaldson Park, 11,000 for Lake Tulane, and 74,000 for MLK.
Those are the figures we sent up, yes. Or the figures that the city sent up. Back in,
I think this was voted on last year
Was it?
in February, yeah.
Well, but now that we have a different setup with MLK, why couldn't we take some of that money and put it at Lake Tulane once we realize that we own it? And if we don't, then get that quit claim deed, because I think that little teeny weeny park isn't big enough for that. They need parking, they need pavilions and other things, and Whether you order it for MLK or order it for Lake Tulane, you're still getting it from the same company, because guaranteed they're gonna piggyback off of somebody that already has the equipment. So that would be an easy thing.
Well, do we need to make a motion on this item?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to decide whether or not, if you guys are interested, do you want to move the money from MLK? Because he's talking about renegotiating it from Lake Tulane, but do we want to keep it at Lake Tulane? That's the question.
I would like to see the proposals again of exactly what was voted on and have that discussion out with all of
Okay.
it. And have a list of the other parks that we have and see if maybe there's something else we want to do.
And I think that in the south side, particularly if there's residents that look at Lake Tulane, because I don't know what the swing set, 11,000 isn't going to buy you much in terms of playground equipment. It really won't.
It's a very modest piece of equipment.
Right, it's going to be tiny. The
The initial
dinosaur
pro-
alone is
The
18,000.
initial proposal was sent to the county in October of 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we might want to modify the actual expenditures and reallocate if we want to.
Right.
If you can't find that opinion and title, it's to me, it's more than just a title search. What we really need is an opinion of title.
Right.
If you can't find the one that exists. Okay.
That's what it was. There was an opinion of title that was provided by, I don't know if it was you or Mike Disler, but it's in a
Not me.
FERDAP file somewhere.
Yeah, if it had been, I would have done it through Bernice Saxon, who
Well,
does
can't
those.
you do it?
I don't do those, no, but
Okay.
Bernice Saxon does them, so,
Okay.
at our firm. And, so,
How long does that take?
it takes about 2 weeks to get the title search done by the lawyer's title, and then she does the opinions fairly quickly once that's in.
What's the general cost for that?
I can't tell you. It really depends on the value of the property and things like that, and how much, they have to do. I can certainly, we can request her to give
I
you.
mean,
give
could
us
we
a
do the
quote.
title here and look for the title that was done and then submit that paperwork to them? That way they don't have to do the title, or?
Well, anything you submit will be helpful, but a title search company will not accept it as the final
Okay.
designation. They'll do their own search because they're not going to trust somebody else. And then for the title opinion, Bernice is not going to rely on somebody else's title search. They'll do the lawyer's title. But, if you needed a price on that, I'd be happy to get one from her, for you. It's just through her direct billing. I don't get anything for that.
Got it.
So.
Okay.
You want to table this so we get all the information?
Well, just one last thing on the Lake Tulane one. If it's 11,000, that could be either city funding or it could be county RPAC funding, because obviously it's a match if we only got 48,000. So either way we go, we can still put $11,000 in there and modify the grant application itself by removing 11,000 from it if
Right.
we have to. That way there's no issue with the ownership.
Yeah.
That's good.
But
Can't we apply to RPAC every year?
you can, but they're out of money
When
for
does
this
it-
year. So you'll have to reapply next year. But if this is good, then they're going to carry that budget over. They're just going to roll it over,
Right.
this amount.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to go ahead and have our 5-year plan of what we
Well, that's
intend on
one of the
asking
problems
for?
we have. We have a CIP, and this doesn't match the CIP. These monies were supposed to be used as leverage for FERDAP grants, where you can get maybe $200,000 plus this amount. But the FERDAPs, they haven't been applied for in 3 years, 4 years. And they're behind the game because 3 years ago, the governor then didn't fund them 1 year. So everyone that qualified and scored wouldn't get funded till the following year. So that means that even if we apply this year, we wouldn't be getting money until 2021.
Right.
But if you get in now, then you'll get it in 2021. Otherwise, it's 2022. But these typically worked in tandem with RPAC so that you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can work out these details and get the information
Yeah.
we need, but right now, can you go ahead and approve us to at least enter into the discussions with Highlands County?
Yes.
Okay.
David, I have a real hard time hearing you.
I don't know why.
I thought it was just me.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, both of you are really hard to hear. I don't know if the mics don't work. I just want you to know that, because I mean, I want to be able to read your lips, and I can't do that because that computer thing's in the way. So I can't.
Sit up straight, David.
It's a short microphone, what can I say?
Yeah. Well, I know you
Okay.
have a deep voice, so.
We still need to have an approval to enter
Yes.
into discussions with Highlands County.
We'll be looking for a motion for
Yes,
that.
please.
Motion to give staff the authority to initiate discussions with Highlands County to modify the RPAC agreement.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So once the discussion The discussion is going to be to remove the funds from the Lake Two-Lane project, is that correct?
If we don't own it.
If we don't
If
own
we
it.
don't own it. And
You renegotiate the contract so that the $11,000 that the city would have put in as a match comes back to the city, and then the city can go ahead and just spend that money on their own without having an RPAC agreement.
to revitalize the Lake Two-Lane Park.
Correct.
Would that be something that the city would decide to do, or
It's already-
suppose,
Yeah, if you don't own the property, you're not gonna put anything on it, period.
But we have
so, so that's where I'm going. If the title search come back that we do not own the property,
Right.
then the city is not going to revitalize the Lake Two-Lane project, is that correct?
I'm under the impression that we will,
I
with
wouldn't-
city funding.
I wouldn't do anything on property you don't own.
Well, but we own it. I mean, that opinion thing was proof enough for the state, and that was good enough for me.
Well, it probably exists somewhere. It should be in a
'Cause we're
file, in that file.
Okay, so we are mowing that entire area. We have
And-
been for how long?
And we just did it just a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
last weekend.
I can't use it, but other than an example, but it wouldn't be the first time that I have dealt with a situation where a city
Well, then the
thought it
housing-
owned property that it's made a lot of improvements to, and then did not technically end up owning it without a quiet title action.
Well, then that's another motion that we'll have to make sure that we get that research done, or if that's a direction we give, the city attorney for that. But if anything, the housing authority is not in the position to be able to fund and maintain that entire, there's a dock. There are buoys out there on that lake. There's all kinds of expenses put out by the city on that park, and it's been for decades.
Yeah. Well, let's do the search and find out.
Yeah, okay.
We don't have to worry about it right now.
If you find a search, just send it to me and I'll have a look at it. And you don't have to do it then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further
Opinion.
questions?
Wait, you haven't answered the first question that I just asked. I mean, I'm just like.
We can't answer that question right now. It's
'Cause-
impossible.
Then how are we gonna vote on this, that we're
This
gonna
is just to
take-
open it up that if we want to
Just
make
for
a change.
discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Nothing else,
That's it.
okay.
My understanding is that we conclude discussions and modify the agreement, you have to go back and vote on any modifications to the agreement.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
What
Okay.
did you say?
If we modify the agreement, you would have to come back to you for approval.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
this is not.
I
we're not-
got you, okay, we good.
Any further questions?
No, Garrett, I don't have any more questions.
Good. Let's call a roll.
Councilmember Gray,
Yes,
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 15, request approval of repairs to the sewer vacuum truck number 41.
This is our backup sewer vacuum truck. It has been out of commission for over 6 months because our department was told in the previous administrations that they didn't have money to repair it. We do have money to repair it. I just need to, since it's over the threshold that I can approve, I need the council to approve this so I can get the thing back online.
So
Please.
it's not operational, and it's our backup?
It's been sitting over in Vero Beach, in Fort Pierce for 6 months.
Is the garbage still in it?
No. It's not a garbage truck, it's a sewer vac truck.
Okay, never mind. Okay, vacuum.
There.
We'll be looking for a motion.
Question, is this repair any bit close to a new one?
This will give us many more years of operation out of that particular truck. It'll make the truck worth $100,000 again.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a motion? Anyone at all?
One question on the labor. They have a $12,000 fee for labor on their quote. Is this something that had we had a mechanic, we could have done it ourselves, or no?
No,
Because-
this is a proprietary thing. It's very specialized work on this truck, and it's only can be done by the dealer in Fort Pierce.
And it's
There's
been in
nobody
Fort-
around here that
And
can
how
do that.
long has it been there?
6 months.
So have we needed it?
No, we have a primary one. This is our backup truck. If the primary one goes down, we're done. We can't clean lift stations or anything else at that point.
I noticed that this was dated January of 2019, the quote.
We haven't
And you're s-
updated.
And you're saying that this has been sitting there for 6 months?
That is correct.
How come no one knew about that?
Previous
Well,
administration.
don't answer that question. You don't have to.
I do have one question, simple question. Was there any type of warranty that comes with this work?
It'd be a standard repair warranty, probably 90 days.
Okay. Enough time to get it back here and check it out?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So they're also saying that other repairs may be needed if it's when it's dismantled, and you'll be notified as soon as possible. I mean, do we know that it's going to be like, it's got like a change order, another $10,000 or something?
Don't know.
What's your gut feeling?
My gut feeling is they're going to fix it for that price.
Okay. Well, I make a motion that we approve the $35,956.81 to repair the sewer vacuum truck number 41.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Want to make one little note at the bottom of the page 6 there, 25% restock will be charged, so let's be aware of that.
I just have one comment, and this is not legal, but just a practical experience. Since it's dealing with sewage, I just, recommend that you, rather than keeping it as a standby, that you alternate them periodically otherwise, because anything you deal with sewage on stops working if you stop using it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray.
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 16, I've asked to pull for now, please.
Okay, any objections to that?
Nope.
Seeing none, moving on. Attorney updates. Item number 17.
Okay, apologies to David, I did review this, and but when I was looking over the package again, I noticed the signature block is for Florida, and the contract that they're showing as the backup was for Florida Municipal Power Agency. Who's that?
Unicode.
No. The last page, signature page of the agreement, not the assignment, but the agreement.
Florida Municipal Power Agency, that's what you're talking about?
Yep.
With initials next to it,
Jacob
too.
Wilburn.
Jerry, I'm kind of at a loss. You sent this to us.
This? No,
Yeah.
I asked for the, and when I got the assignment, I said I need the agreement in order to approve the assignment. And this is what I got. I don't know who I got it from, but I don't have this.
Okay.
Maybe it's something they sent on my request to you all, or maybe it was forwarded, but I didn't come up with this.
Would you like us to table it?
Yep,
Let's table it.
Yep.
Because I also think that, we need, if we're gonna approve this, just include in the package next time, that they need to approve an amendment to our agreement, if this is what our agreement looks like as well, to include the public records provision, because a lot of the older agreements don't have them in there, but whenever we renew them and so on, I like to add that in there, because it's required by law. It's kind of handy.
Yeah.
Even though we're going to table this, can you please tell me how these things are related? I mean, who's married to who here?
And
As
what
I
is-
understand it, this is the company that does our sewer billing, or our utility billing in general.
So
And,
is that Municode? Okay, so they submit all the invoices out to all the residents, right?
Right.
Yes, they're the billing company that actually mails out our statements for us.
Okay, so this is an agreement between them, and they're going to be what?
Well, they're assigning it to somebody else.
Okay,
And
so.
there's no assignment provision, but generally speaking, it's not considered to be prohibited unless there's a good reason for it. And service contracts, the reason would be that somebody's not capable of handling it. It's, as long as you're familiar and comfortable with INCO, then I wouldn't obviously object to it, but somebody should check those things out. But the agreement that I got to look at, services agreement from somebody, I got
So,
it.
but we are the assignor. I mean, Avon Park, Municode represents Avon Park in the first section, and then on the second part of this agreement, Avon Park is the assignor. And then ENCO is the assignee who becomes the contractor for Municode.
Right.
Okay. So on the first page of the assignment and assumption of contract, it says Avon Park, Georgia.
well, they're assigning it between the two corporations that are handling the billing. And we just have to approve it since we have the original contract with the assignor.
Okay, but the assignment and assumption of contract by assignor who is Municode and the assignee who is Enco, their contract says Avon Park, Georgia. And it says that the assignment is executed as of December 11th, 2018. So they're already in effect.
Yeah, well, they can do all the assignment they want to.
Okay.
That doesn't mean they have a right to.
So we don't need to
operate on the
worry
contract.
about that.
No, right.
Okay, so we don't need to worry that we're now in Georgia
We just
either.
approve the assignment, otherwise we move on to somebody else and go back out to RFP.
Okay.
But,
But it doesn't change anything with utility billing.
no. Or you're using them now, right, still? So it's been so far it's been a seamless, assignment. But, and they have insurance and they have identification in there, which is what I checked. But I missed the fact that they did not have the public records clause. So,
And also, Jerry, they're not numbered, but under Section 7, insurance, you've always been a big stickler about insurance, but it says contractor shall provide FMPA with certificate of insurance evidencing these insurance requirements and naming FMPA as additional insured. Why isn't the city of Avon Park additional insured?
That's the FMPA is the one that I'm referring to. I was looking at the
Okay.
provisions here, and I don't know who FMPA. I think what they did is they sent us the wrong contract, or we had the wrong contract on file here. Somehow, the wrong contract came to me, and but I do recall getting the assignment and being asked to approve it, and I said I got to have the original contract.
Can you do a family tree to see how these all relate to one? I mean, I think I understand it, but it's, as long as we're getting the services that we need for utility billing, that's really all that matters, right?
Yes.
But is this the right contract?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is I need to see it.
Doesn't appear to be.
Yeah.
Yep. So you still want us to table this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We need a motion to table?
A motion to postpone indefinitely.
Okay.
I make a motion that we postpone this service agreement indefinitely.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Councilmember Gray.
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under council member discussion, item number 18, we have Councilmember Maria Sutherland, June Fisher reimbursement.
Yes, this came, this has been on my mind now since November. When June Fisher resigned, she was paid for an extra month that I feel was a month that she did not deserve. The moment that she resigned and we accepted her resignation, she stood up from her chair and sat in the audience, but yet still got paid for that entire month. And I believe it may have been a discrepancy at City Hall by doing so because of the interpretation of the contract by then City Attorney Pruitt. So it's about $8,000. I don't feel that we owe this money. She may feel otherwise, but nonetheless, I think that the contract was pretty clear in that once you resign, you're done. And if you accept those extra 30 days, then you accept them, and we did not.
Well, I'll start out in a kinder and gentler way and send her a letter asking for that money back unless somebody says otherwise.
I thought we've already done that.
May I ask a question? This was approved by the then city manager.
No.
No.
She was the city manager.
No. I mean, this payment. Who signed this timesheet? I'm just, somebody approved, I don't know whose signature this is.
They were interim city manager.
Oh, interim city manager, okay.
It was a mistake on
That was a
on the
mistake.
part of staff. That has been admitted and
Yes.
acknowledged.
A mistake is a mistake, doesn't mean it shouldn't be corrected.
I mean, if you get an
But-
overpayment at the bank, they'll chase you down to make you pay it back. So this kind of falls along the same lines. And plus, right after she resigned, the city attorney then stated that she was entitled to those 30 days, and the staff listened to that and went ahead and paid it. But in review of the contract, it was pretty apparent that that was not the case. So, it doesn't hurt to ask for the money back. I think that it's fair. And,
I thought we've already done that at least once.
no, I believe phone calls were done, but.
I did 2 phone calls to her telling her that was the position of at least one commissioner.
But we haven't had anything really formal from the council to direct that.
Well,
So I will do that
please.
Well, wait a minute. In my opinion, I don't think, I think it would be very wrong of the city of Avon Park to ask for the funds back. You know, that's just my opinion now. I think if the city made the mistake and paid somebody, that's our mistake. At some point or another, we should be able to, hey, look, we made the mistake and we need to eat it up. That's my opinion.
Well, if the city made a mistake and gave someone an $11,000 credit on their water bill, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have the same opinion.
Well, I think at this point then I would need a motion to approve my proceeding with this.
Okay. Is anyone willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that the city attorney draft a letter to seek reimbursement from June Fisher.
I absolutely second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions?
No, I just want to make a couple of comments. I'm really disappointed that a couple of phone calls hadn't gotten us anywhere. That I'm kind of shocked that there wasn't some type of positive response. It seems to be, in my opinion, unethical. And this kind of shows maybe part of the reason why she lost her previous position in the county. But so I think it's doesn't speak well of her, and I hope that the letter will speak clearly to what the results should be.
Well, my question is, are we absolutely sure that this was a overpayment? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I hear you say something?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray.
No.
Councilmember Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Councilmember discussion, item number 19.
I think just step back for a second. With regard to the mystery of what happened to this, my receipt of that, let me find that again. I'll send myself an email so I could.
Speak in the microphone.
Beatrice Ramirez basically sent me the assignment to approve and then sent me the contract when I requested it.
What?
Is it?
She's an employee of the city, Beatrice
Yeah.
Ramirez.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's who sent it to me. And I got the date here, so.
What are you talking about, Jerry?
About that thing that we tabled.
Oh,
The Muni Code
I
contract.
got you.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was originally sent to me, the contract was sent to me by her on February 21st. So,
Thank you for clarifying.
This year, huh? So we haven't had
Yeah.
it that long. Okay.
All right. Item number 19, process for council.
Yes, you know, this has been something that comes and goes with councils and depending on the council and city manager. I know that David has been very, receptive towards our requests to put things on the agenda, and I appreciate that. You're very open. There's no, I need a motion for you to put that on the agenda type thing. We just give you and you do, so thank you. But what I wanted to do was just ensure that we actually have a process with timeliness and stuff, because I know that staff has to get their work done by a certain time, and that after a certain time that nothing else goes on the agenda. Handouts and things like that, especially now, is just a big concern of mine in terms of transparency. So I see that you drafted a procedure here, but there's one thing on your last sentence where it says the city manager will have the authority to make exceptions. What about the city council? Do they have the authority to make exceptions as well? I mean, if we give you something and, oops, I don't want you to do that anymore, will we have any kind of parameters to withdraw our requests or to amend them? Yeah, but this is administrative procedure. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page,
Okay, this is my administrative procedure. This is what I am requiring of anybody that wants to put something on the agenda, the timeline to do this.
Okay.
I put that last sentence on there in the event that there are exceptions to that, in the event that there are emergency type procedures that doesn't allow me that timeline, in the event that our office is absolutely slammed and we can't make that noon deadline. So that's why I put that little cushion there for me. Don't anticipate it being a problem.
Right, so on the section where you say submitted to the city clerk, now we're not allowed to direct anything to the city clerk and say, put this on the agenda. We cannot tell him to do that, so I have to give it to you.
Then give it to me.
So then that has to change where it doesn't go to the city clerk, because then that procedure is not being followed by me.
If you get your stuff to me, I will get it to him by noon on that day.
Okay.
Okay, then my
Yeah,
question.
I mean, you know the process to follow, so.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure that that's clarified, because I don't want whatever I give you changed.
I understand what you're saying.
All right. And then sometimes when we give you information, we're asking, at least in my perspective, if, there's an item that I would like to have on the agenda and I don't have the backup to it, you do. I mean, are you sure Wednesday is the appropriate time? Because if I give it to you at 11:59 on a Wednesday, you may not have time to go do your research.
Right.
I would hope that you would discuss it with me prior to that, so I'd know what stuff we'd need to have to put on
Okay.
there.
Okay.
My goal is to have the agendas completely done, the packets completely done by noon on Thursday.
Okay.
To where y'all can get them in time to study them and review them the appropriate amount of time that you need before the following meeting. That's my goal.
Okay.
I did not put that in my administrative policy, but I'm telling you, that's my goal. I want to have that done.
Right.
If it happens to be 1 or 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, we're still okay, but I don't want it to be Friday morning.
No.
And if it becomes a problem, we just simply change it.
Right, but
Correct.
we had these policies or administrative procedures in the past when we had to have packets done, but now that we can't post it online, that was the other part of this, is there's nothing for the public to look at. So if you send it to us, which I would hope that every time you get a council packet ready and you send it to us, email it to us also, don't just let us know it's downstairs.
That's what we're doing.
So that, I forward it out to, a couple of people in the audience here that are typically, wanting to know what's going on. But is there any other way to get this information out that the public can review?
Well, they could obviously come to City Hall.
Yeah,
If they call us and ask us for us to send them a packet electronically, and they give us their email, we can do that. I'm not going to print out a packet for them unless they want to, do the cost on that. But anybody that wants it emailed, any citizen that wants it emailed, we can absolutely make that happen.
Can I ask a question of our newspaper here, radio rather?
There's no newspaper.
Well, no, Mr. Radio.
Let the record show.
Well, I could have sworn that some.
This is the radio.
Okay. Barry, how are you with not being able to look at our packets online?
I am able to look at the packet because I made a request to the city manager, who sends me a copy that I can look at.
Okay. Just asking?
You're supposed to come to the podium. Barry Foster, Highlands Radio Group News Director. I get a copy sent from the city clerk.
Mm-hmm.
I think not having it on the
website
is a colossal pain. It is done, I think, by people who are looking for financial gain. That's my personal opinion. So it makes it hard on the rest of the city. Used to that the city would have one of their packets sitting at City Hall for anyone who was standing around for a couple, 3 hours and look through it, But it is very cumbersome. Excuse me. It's very cumbersome, and there's probably some kind of program somewhere that will take PDF files and change them to files that can be read by these readers so people can read through them.
So, David, what if there's an amendment or like with me, for example, I didn't get the little handout that you gave. Do you also send those just automatically to those that request the original packet and then it gets updated? Do you send that update as well, or are they going to have to request that? But how would they know?
Actually, that night I gave them a copy of it as well.
Okay.
I have a question. This packet was not available until Friday morning, is that correct?
No, it was ready Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
Yes, sir.
I may be wrong, but I thought I looked on the city website because it was late in the afternoon instead of getting my packet, and I went to the city website and I saw all the information that was in the packet.
Should have been just the agenda.
No, it was an email. They sent an email.
I sent you an email of that.
With the-
Manny sent you an email.
With the whole agenda
Yeah,
on that?
and,
Okay,
and there's a
that's what it
little,
was.
there's a tiny little
Okay.
thing on the corner
All
that
right.
says city council meeting. It's just
Okay.
advertised, but the agenda's not there.
Okay, that's what I saw,
Barry?
okay. Great.
Barry Foster, Highlands Radio Group. Can I ask the attorney a question? Suppose some private citizen got this agenda and posted it on their own website because they thought it would be like a really good thing. Maybe posted it on a Facebook page or Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat or Tumblr or whatever platform. would that have the same ADA requirements that the city is supposed to have?
As long as they're not being used as a conduit by the city, I don't see why that would be a problem.
So if I was a concerned citizen as opposed to being an unconcerned citizen, I could put it on barryfoster.com, by the way, which does not exist. I could put that on barryfoster.com. So if someone who was a community-oriented person could just ask the city manager for that and then take it and put it on their own website regardless without your written consent.
I mean, I'm not an ADA expert, but as far as I know, that's the case. I would just simply say, though, if it's a business, there are some ADA things that apply to them as well. So it's just that everything ADA applies to cities.
I'm just talking about a normal human person. I'm not talking about a business. And it's just a question. Not that I would assume that anyone would actually do that. But someone could do that without repercussions. That was
If
just
you wanted a firm answer, I'd have to do research on it or get it.
Just a question. I'm just asking a
But I don't know of any reason why ADA would apply to a person that wanted to put it
But
on
that
their own
wouldn't be,
website.
that wouldn't be perceived as a backdoor way of
Well, it
the
depends
city.
on who and how and things like that. I mean,
Well, then
like I
that's
said,
on
it
him
could
then.
not be a conduit of the city to say, wink, wink, let's do this.
Well, then why do the research? Just let him, let his concerned citizen do what they want with it. But a city council person cannot.
Yeah, I don't represent private citizens, so if they did it and got in trouble, that'd be their own issue. But like I said, I don't see how it would apply to residential.
Okay.
So long as
Got
they're
it.
not being used as a conduit by the city.
Okay. Do we need to vote on this procedure?
I'm okay with it as it is because I see it could change at some point in the future. You may want to up it to Tuesdays. I'm just saying, that way you just have that whole out of the way. But I'm okay with it.
We're going to see if we can make Wednesday work.
Yeah.
We had Tuesday once before, and that was extremely difficult.
I know.
So I'm agree with Wednesday. In fact, I wouldn't
Okay.
mind Wednesday by 5 p.m. But
Yeah,
I'll
but
check.
if the general public knew this, then they had proclamations or anything else, then, there's something for him to look at and say, you know what, we just can't take anything else.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need to vote on this?
No,
No.
it's
Okay.
this policy right now. You do have rules of the commission, but I did not see this as one of them.
Got it. All right. Item number 20, consideration of possible revisions to the City of Avon Park's ordinance governing sale of alcohol.
I had a couple of council members that had asked me to provide a side-by-side comparison of what the city ordinance was for alcohol sales versus the county versus the city of Sebring. You'll see that the county is at 7 a.m. on Sunday, Sebring is at 6 a.m., Avon Park is at 1 p.m. The reason that I asked this to be put on there, I had sent you an email concerning one particular business owner that has put an annexation project on hold because it affected the restaurant business that he had. If he goes into the city annexation, the city ordinance being the most stringent would be the one that applied to him at that point, and he feels that he would lose some of his business. He is not saying he will not annex. He's just saying he would like some clarification on this before he moves forward with it.
David?
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask you a question? I read that email and I was a tidbit confused on that because I thought the last time the council met up here, there was an issue about that particular parcel being annexed in because there was something called a enclave. So even if that
The enclave issue has been addressed. We were moving forward with it. The county engineer signed off on it. Everything was done. The enclave issue went away.
So it would not, see, I didn't know that. So if they annex in, they would not create an enclave, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Is there anyone wishing to speak on this in the audience?
Well, I think that you all pretty much know where I feel on this because I spoke about it the last time. I know that maybe 7 a.m. and 6 a.m. wouldn't be favorable for Avon Park because we have a very
religious.
Well, we have a religious community, yes, but nonetheless, one thing that my husband always tells me is that when a lawyer walks away not with everything they want, it's a good day, especially when the other side doesn't walk away with everything they want. And I think that we could reach a compromise to where, we still have our community sensibility towards this issue, and at the same time have a sensibility towards the businesses that would like to have this. It was going to be my suggestion that we just change the hour to 10 a.m. That way, at least it bumps it up for those people that play golf at a golf in Avon Park. I mean, we know we have one, and the one that wants to annex in particularly is opening up a restaurant at his facility, and they drink beer at 10 a.m. and they have mimosas, and brunches and things. And I'm not saying that this is going to be catered to one particular business, but what we don't know is who does not come here based off of our Sunday Blue laws. And not only that, but it would be up to the business themselves that even though if we change this, the business themselves doesn't have to adhere to this. They can still keep their 1 p.m. if they so choose and continue to observe their religious beliefs, or not sell it at all on a particular day if they don't feel like it. But I have spoken to a couple of businesses. One of them is Little Italy, and they're of the opinion that, people come in at 11:30 and they want a beer with their pizza. Another one said that they would rather annex in and follow the rule of the 1 p.m. because they need sewer so bad. So they're willing to be flexible, and I think that we should be too.
Pretty sure people have figured out how to get their alcohol one way or another. For a
Well, no
long
doubt,
time.
no doubt. But at the same time,
we do have a hand up in the audience. Alan? Name and address, please.
Alan Ball, 139 East Circle Street. Just a little bit of history on this. A number of years back, I led a petition drive when this went to referendum. We gathered the appropriate amount of signatures, and the first time it went to vote, it got shot down. I'm a former drinker. I choose not to do it anymore. I don't see anything wrong with it if you control it. There's nothing wrong with that. Avon Park is special. I've been here 60 plus years. My kids are born and raised here. I like Avon Park. I like no Sunday alcohol sales, personally. But it's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock's a good round number. It just got a nice ring to it. It really does. I can't see where we need to keep up with the Joneses because a golf course wants to be annexed in. I can't see where we need to. Supposedly, when this was going down, Winn-Dixie and all the business places that sold beer were going to be able to increase our tax base, tax revenue. That's no longer the issue because we're self-sustaining due to the good work of a lot of people. I personally think we ought to look at it real hard. Well, let's be a standalone in Highlands County. We don't have to break bed with the Joneses at the golf course on 11 o'clock on Sunday. Just a personal opinion, but I can speak for myself and my family. 1 o'clock's got a nice ring to it. Let's just leave it alone.
Thank you.
I'd like to say that in 1999, it did not go to referendum. It came to the city council. This room was filled with about 100 people in it, and there was so much pressure from people from other communities outside of the city of Avon Park. By the way, the room was so packed that the actual businesses that wanted to talk in favor of it were excluded from the meeting because they were all standing in the hallway and in the parking lot. The chamber at the time was in support of it with all their businesses that were in support of it, and it stopped here at the council. It never went to referendum. It wasn't on the voter referendum. It was in this council room where it was stopped. So regardless of what happened then, I just think that, in today's economy and in today's reasonability, look, I can pitch it any which way I can, but it really comes down to the business themselves. If they don't want to sell anything until 1, then don't sell it. But I don't think that we should be imposing a rule for anybody else. If they want to sell early, then let them. If they don't, then they don't. I know that in Sebring, for example, the Walmart there, from what I understand, opted to continue with the blue law and not sell until 1 o'clock, despite the county changing the rule there. So they have a choice, and I think that individuals should be provided the choice as well. I just think that this is a choice that a business should have, and not one that any group of people should impose on others.
I'd be curious to find out when this law was changed to this, but I think that you will probably find that it has been the vast majority of the history of Avon Park. It's been this way, if not even more stringent. So, anyone else willing to speak? Any questions? Any other comments from council?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so this is obviously, you know, we need to make a consideration of, are we going to look at altering it? We couldn't approve this.
I'll
in
tell you, I will
particular.
speak.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, but when I first found out that the county went to 7 a.m., I was kind of shocked. But I remember listening to the Barry Foster radio show, who said that he was shocked that not one person showed up at that county commission meeting to object to that time. And so that's one reason it went past too easily. Then I was even shocked even further when it was only a few weeks later, and the Sebring decided, well, we're going to be even better than the county, and we're going to go to 6 a.m. That was really shocking. But since that time, I have decided that on my own to try to ask as many people as I know, as many people that I see during my working hours, and even did some social media surveys. And to be quite honest with you, I would say more than 90% of all the people said no on changing the time to before 1 p.m. on Sunday. And that was sort of my own personal feelings. But there were a few other people that had different ideas, and I think that as us sitting up here on this council, we need to represent everybody of Avon Park, not only the residents, but also the businesses. So I started thinking, I know this is going to be a long time, but I've lived in Florida for more than 50 years, and the whole time it's always been 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. And everybody seems to have worked around that without any problem whatsoever. And now all of a sudden, some people say, well, we need to make a change right now. I don't really see where a change would even make a change, but I do think Mr. Ball said Avon Park is special. But with that being said, I also lived in California for several years, in LA County and Orange County, where there was many, many, many restaurants that had Sunday brunch. And almost all of them gave away free champagne or free mimosas. And pretty much everybody that went to these brunches, that's all they drank because it was free. They weren't drinking any other alcohol beverage at the time. And so then I started thinking about, you know, is Avon Park going to grow? Are we going to have other businesses? We really don't have that many businesses that serve alcohol, or let alone are open for lunch other than earlier than 11 o'clock. And so I don't really see where it's going to have a large impact one way or the other. But being the fact that I do represent all of Avon Park, and I've heard from several people and several friends, and even though I personally don't agree with it, I think I would offer a compromise of 11 a.m. One of the things that was brought to my attention was a lot of people, not everybody goes to church on Sunday, and some people like to have, I've been told, a glass of wine, and they like to be able to go shopping at Walmart before the people from church get out and the place is busy. And I actually get out of church, I go early, get out at 11 o'clock, and I do stop at Walmart, and it's not very crowded. So 11 o'clock on Sunday morning is a good time to go shopping at Walmart, in case you're interested. And for those that, if they could get by waiting till 11 o'clock on Sunday, reluctantly, I think I would do that compromise.
Okay.
My thought, oh, I'm sorry.
Got another hand up.
Go ahead.
Name and address, please.
Tanya Marshall, 806 Reddick Street. I am one that was on your page, and I don't go to church on Sundays. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, so as I posted, Sunday is just a regular day for me. Saturday was the day that we go to church. I'm a wine drinker, a regular wine drinker. And I also, when I was going to grocery shopping, I would go at 7 or 8 o'clock Sunday morning just to get it over with, and that way I'll be home early and be done with it. What I ended up having to do was buy my wine on Fridays on my way home from work. That way I won't have to worry about it. But now that I do the online shopping with Walmart, it's phenomenal. I just order it on at work and go pick it up when I get off, and I'm done. But I agreed with the county when they moved the time to 7 o'clock. I thought Sebring had moved it to 7 o'clock. I don't know what the 6 o'clock thing happened. And I know Lake Placid was the first one that moved their time back to 7 o'clock. I just think Avon Park should be, it should be cohesive with everybody else. I really do. I like Avon Park. I mean, I love Avon Park, and it's a special little town, but I don't see it being so special where it has to be the oddball out. I really don't.
So you wouldn't be happy with a compromise of 11 a.m.?
Like I said, now I get it on Friday before I get off work anyway. So, I mean, once I get off work, just because it's more convenient for me.
Is it gone by Sunday?
Just kidding. I
Don't
buy
answer
2
that.
boxes.
Don't answer
It
that.
lasts.
By 1 o'clock.
Trust me, I know how to shop. I just get enough so it lasts, so I don't have to worry about it, you know.
All right, thank you, Tom.
All right.
Thank you.
My thought is, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you
Please
sure?
do.
My thought is that I agree with Mr. Bell. Is your name Bell?
Ball.
Ball.
Al
Sorry
Ball.
about that. I think if it's not broke, why? If it's not broke, don't fix it. 1 o'clock has been special to Avon Park, and if I had to vote on that, I would vote to remain as it is now. And I don't drink.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that makes Avon Park special. I agree with what Jim said, that the overwhelming vast majority of people who spoke to me were not in favor of changing the time. So I always represent the majority because that's how, our country works. The majority rule. So if majority supports it, not only a slight majority, but an overwhelming majority that spoke to me, I have no choice but to go that way. Not to mention it's part of our heritage. It's been this way for a very, very long time, longer than any of us have been alive. I just can't see the change. So, another hand.
I just have a question. Anna Marie Feeney, 234 East Camphor Street, Avon Park. Now, I'm listening to all of this, and I don't drink at all. I never have. Okay? So it's not in my interest one way or the other. But if we stay at 1 and everybody else is at 6, 7, whatever they are, our residents are going to travel to wherever they can get the liquor, the alcohol, and then they're going to travel back here. Now, to me, that sounds like we're kind of going to get these people on the road with their beers and everything else, and on top of that, the commerce that they would have served us here and would have kept them closer to home, we won't have.
Well, Anne Marie, if we started selling cocaine, we could probably get quite a few people here too.
Exactly.
Okay, but the difference is that cocaine is illegal, beer is not.
Yeah.
And people throw parties on Sundays. We all know that. People throw parties on Sundays. They're going to buy beer. They're going to buy alcohol. So I'm just saying, if they're going to go and get it no matter what we say, wouldn't it be a little to think about how far they're going to be traveling on our roads?
It is such a minute portion of the population that falls into that small category of the people who drink on Sunday, the people who drink at that time on Sunday, and the people who don't already have it or can't get it elsewhere.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Like I said, it was
wish I
just
had
a question.
statistic on it,
So
but
I have a
get-
question regarding this. So this is just an Avon Park rule. Who would shut them down? Code enforcement?
On Sunday?
No, it would be law enforcement. Yeah.
Would it be law enforcement?
No, they've actually got some issues enforcing our ordinances right now. So that's something that I've been trying to work out with.
So we have enforcement issues right now with alcohol as it is?
Not particularly that ordinance, but with our city ordinances, they are having some issues as to how they can actually enforce some of them.
Okay.
Because they're not a local PD, is that what you're saying?
Because it's a city ordinance and they enforce state statutes.
Okay.
Arnold Davis, 1214 South Carolina Avenue. I think this ordinance, I think I was in high school when this ordinance come out. And we all talked about it and whatnot, but I was a drinker back then, but I went into service in 86. And I went into church in 86, and I haven't had a drink since then. But anyway, when I was drinking, it didn't really matter. We just obeyed the ordinance and did what was right. That's all people got to do is do what's right. If you're gonna buy your alcohol, get it the day before. stock up. That's what we did when I was a drinker.
Yeah.
But, you know, you just got to use common sense. And definitely don't drive and drink. I think the ordinance is good. Leave it as is.
Thank you,
David, in regard to enforcement, I mean, they don't enforce county code that's criminal? Or are they just saying that they can't enforce the city code that's criminal?
They're saying they're having an issue enforcing some of our city ordinances because it's not under a state statute. They're doing a lot of research on this right now. For instance, we have an ordinance that says you can't drive a truck over 1.5 tons down Main Street. They won't enforce that because DOT says you can.
Well, there is a provision under the state statutes that tells you how you can limit truck routes. And if you follow that, it is part of the state statutes.
We've put signs up limiting what the truck routes are,
Uh-huh.
and it hadn't slowed down the truck traffic.
Isn't that for historic buildings and safety? I mean, wasn't that created so that the vibration wouldn't affect old buildings?
Not
and
only the
safety?
vibration, but the turning, the
Yeah,
sharp
you
turn
can't turn.
radius, it was running over them all.
That radius is
Well,
just tiny.
perhaps our city attorney should have a conversation with the county.
Well, if they
I
do
can set that
research
up.
on that, I'd like to know when they come up, let's have a conversation on that with them.
What if they're carrying alcohol?
I have actually asked, what?
What if they're carrying alcohol? I'm just being
Okay.
stupid, that's all.
I have asked the sheriff's department to start compiling statistical data for us and start doing presentations with us. I haven't received a response from them on that yet. I just sent it to them last week, asking them to start providing regular reports to us.
Okay. All right. So does the council want to move forward with a change or not?
No.
It requires a motion anyway. So
Right.
Why does it require a motion?
Because you're not going to get anybody.
What if no one wants to make a
If they want
motion?
if they want to direct me to write the change, then I can't do it on, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be.
A
In other words,
whim.
we're looking for a
Well,
motion.
you know,
if no
right
one
now
ma-
it's going to be 2-2, so it's going to fail. I would like to see Stanley Spurlock here and make it a verifiable 3-2. If it's going to be a no, make it a for sure thing no, or a for sure thing yes. But I'd like to postpone this until Mr. Spurlock has
We
his
will
say.
need a motion to postpone.
I make a motion that we postpone this issue until the next council meeting. Oh, no, just postpone it.
Until
Can we
you
do
get
that?
full board.
Well, technically, you don't need a motion to postpone it. You just took up the issue, and there's no motion on the floor. You would postpone a motion, but you would not postpone a particular issue. But that's up to you.
What?
So we don't need a vote?
No?
Okay.
It's
Okay,
just, we
moving
talked
on.
about it, nobody
Okay.
had a motion. I see into that.
Okay.
We
end
can
of
come
story.
back
Just
up at the next time.
We can
All
just
right.
agenda it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want to make it old business on the next, continuing each month.
I would be perfectly fine with having a vote right now.
I'm sure you would.
Okay, no one's willing to make a motion. All right. Moving on to city manager's report.
I'll
Yes.
take the gavel if you want to make a motion.
Make a motion? Well,
Move
we'll
on.
give Stanley his day.
Okay.
All right, I gave you some statistical data on the number of calls, work orders, and et cetera that's happened up. What I'm going to slip right straight to is the bottom there where it says follow-up reports on Brickell Building.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
Before
ma'am.
you do that, I had one question on here where the code enforcement, where it says 80 garbage cans tags, what does the tag mean? And the reason why I asked that, because my yellow and blue had a tag on it, and I didn't know what it meant. It had a tie thing on it, so was that a tag?
We don't pick
No,
up yellow and blue.
the
Oh.
tag just means that we put them a letter notifying the people that they're supposed to take the
okay.
trash can. Nobody was cited for having the cans left out on the road. We're advising them of our code ordinance that says you have to take that can back in after it's been
Oh,
dumped.
that tag. And
Yes, ma'am.
also, I would like to bring out to the citizens that what you told me, that once about the picking up of the recycle bins, and how is that going to work? We might want to announce that to the citizens now.
We did put some information out there about that, but not everybody got the message.
Uh-huh.
But what we're doing right now, per your direction, we're picking up the blue and yellow cans. We have a truck and trailer following the garbage can to where if there's something dumped in them, we're dumping the cans, putting them down, and the truck's coming up right behind them, picking them up on the regular utility trailer We're taking them out, taking the wheels off of them. We'll stack them all together and then sell them off.
So I just want the citizens to know that your recycled bins, the city is going to pick them up. So if they're empty now, come on. Oh, I'm sorry, you tell them.
Yep, I already
If
told
they're empty now, don't put any more trash into, any more stuff into them because the city is going to pick them up, right?
That is correct.
How many have you picked up so far?
I have no idea. They started last week. The truck is following the routes. They're picking them up. And a lot of people aren't understanding what we're doing because we didn't get all the
Yeah.
information out properly. But hopefully word will spread. And nobody's going to get cited for leaving the blue and yellow one by the side of the road until we pick it up.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, well, that, Tanya Marshall, 806 Reddick Street. My garbage pickup is tomorrow, so I need to take the blue and yellow one and sit it by the, okay.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what I need to know. Thank
Okay.
you.
And if they don't get it then, they'll get it the next time around.
Just let it stay
Leave
out there.
it, just leave it. Yep.
David, I know that we talked about picking them up when we talked about picking them up, but since then, I understand the county has been picking up recycling. Do you know anything about how they managed to do that?
The county has their own recycling. They do that. They won't accept our recycling stuff. Not unless they want to charge us, not unless we agree to paying like $100 a ton for it.
Okay, so, I mean, we're hitting all these different things, but this still has to do with this issue. When we decided that we were going to go back to the county and have them take our garbage, our tonnage of garbage, that actually had a big impact to their bottom line in terms of the revenues that they're going to be getting. Could we not negotiate perhaps dropping the fee because now we're going to be producing more for them? And maybe all three cities could get together and see whether or not we can work together and drop that rate to 35 versus 45?
It's probably good for discussion, but it's not likely to go anywhere. But we can try to open that door again. They were pretty set. I mean, they passed their rates by ordinance, and
Right.
that was that.
Aren't the rates passed by the company? They're the ones that are putting
But
it forward.
they're
It's a
doing
third party.
Rates are done by the county.
Right, but they're working with a third party company.
That is correct. And
So aren't they working off of their costs?
They negotiate a contract with them. I'm not sure how that all works out.
Got it. Okay.
I'm just wondering, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to see, all they can do is say no
Again.
again, yeah, but at least we can try.
We can try it again. Okay. Did you have anything else, Ms. Gray?
No, sir, thank
Okay.
you.
Going down to my follow-up reports on the Brickell building, we lost quite a bit of inmate labor due to an administrative issue at the prison. They had everybody out there going through security lockdown for a week, so nothing got done at the Brickell building the week before last. After our last meeting, when I told you it would be about 2 more weeks, it's still going to be about 2 more weeks. Last week, they were only able to work 3 days, but they did get 3 more dumpsters dumped at that point. They've also found that inside the building, some of the ceiling work where it's taking the most time, some of that ceiling is double drywalled. And that's just taking more time and more effort to get it taken care of. But they are making some progress on it, slowly but surely. But I told Robert I wanted to keep them in there at least 2 more weeks. He wants to take them out and put them on the highway right now. And I said, highway's going to have to wait. We're taking care of this public safety issue first. So that's what we're doing. Classic Caladium. I found that there was some damage done to the Classic Caladium building. Did y'all not hear me?
No, I was
Oh,
just
I'm
telling her
sorry.
that we didn't have any
Get
IRMA
me in
money
trouble.
on that, designated in that original $1 million check.
That's what we found. Rachel sent me a list of the things that were damaged during the hurricane. Robert said that he had gone out during the hurricane or after it and assessed the damage, took some pictures of it, doesn't know where the pictures are. He turned them into the office upstairs, and apparently that's where they stayed. So the bottom line is, when I spoke to Matt Baker from Thompson Baker, the claims adjuster that is going to be handling the Brickell building for us, when we get the Brickell building finished and do an indoor air quality report on it, he's going to come here, inspect the building with me. We'll make a determination at that point as to how much they're going to give us. They've offered us $100,000 right now. We've far exceeded that just with the roof repairs and what we've already done with the dump fees. So he understands that, and he is willing to work with us because he wants to close the file out. So he said he would actually come here and do that. At the same time, he said he would go with me to Classic Caladium, look at that building, and see what he could do about getting that added in there as well as an open claim. So that's some good news.
Okay.
The Wild building, I was asked to find out where we are with that. According to Jerry, we own the Wild building. The lawsuit that was filed in New York has already been dismissed. The building is ours. I don't know, we don't have a clear title to the building, right?
Well, I don't know the condition of the title, but if we have title, it should be good title. And I'm gonna see about getting us a physical title though, because what we got was basically a court order, and whether we need to convert that to a title or not, or just record it on the building, I'm gonna find out from our bankruptcy attorney who does that stuff.
Okay, so at that point, once we find out that we can actually go inside the building and see what we need to do, I need some direction from you as to what we're gonna do with the Wild building.
I bet it's full of mold.
I don't know. I have no
Well,
idea.
could we just assess it and see exactly what's wrong with it? We've heard back and forth that, yeah, it's good, that no, it's not, but I mean, did we get insurance money on that building as well, or no?
Don't believe so.
So that would be another one that hasn't been looked at in terms of Mr. Baker.
Okay?
And I don't know. I don't know that it's leaking. I know are the windows still boarded up?
Somewhere.
Yeah,
Some are
but there's a
boarded,
big
some
piece
are
of
busted
plywood
off.
on the front, and I don't know if that was done after the hurricane or before the hurricane, but I would love for Mr. Baker to take a look at that building as well and see if there's any funding from insurance.
Wasn't it condemned at one point?
Yeah,
I don't know. Was it?
I don't know. I think that it was a letter from the county inspector, the building inspector,
Yeah,
but we
Mr.
didn't
Longshore.
have an engineer look at it or anything that was, for sure. I'd like to have I trust Mr. Longshore's judgment, but like Mr. Reagan says, trust but verify. I'd rather have a second opinion.
Okay.
That's just me. I don't know what that would cost. I don't want to spend $25,000 on someone coming in to look at it, but a contractor perhaps, you use
We
your
have an
judgment.
engineer.
An engineer right next door. Yeah, that's right. We do have an engineer.
Yeah.
Why can't our guy look at it?
He can.
I would hate to tear down that building, even if it's 75% lost. If we could rehab that, I think that would be worth it.
I agree. Okay, City Hall generators, I apologize that it's taken me so long to get this done, but last week I actually finished the ITB process on this, and I have sent it out. It's going to be advertised in the newspaper twice, this Sunday and the following Sunday, and I sent it out to our local electricians by email right now, as well as Tradewinds, who have done the one before. So we're getting that out there, and hopefully we'll get some responses on it. I gave them an April 11th deadline.
And this is turnkey, right?
3 options. Y'all asked me to get 3
Yeah.
options.
But one
Yes.
of those is in there where it's turnkey.
All of them are.
Cradle to grave. Okay.
All of them are. Yep. Code enforcement issues. At the last meeting, you asked me to see if our current magistrate would be willing to have additional hearings scheduled. The answer is yes. We are scheduling double hearings in April, possibly triple, if we can get him for those 3 days in there. So I can't get that advertised for this month, but I can for April, so we can start get some of the backlog done.
So that's just backlog. That's not going to be new cases.
That's the backlog that's
Yeah.
a year old. Yes.
So David, hold up a second. So the advertisement for the second code in the magistrate, is that?
No.
We're not gonna do that now?
Our current magistrate can do it. What
See,
I
that's
have,
what-
I
yeah.
have to advertise is the hearing dates themselves.
Okay, that's what I was saying at the last time that we meet, why we should offer it to him before going out and asking for another magistrate to.
Right. And he has agreed to do that.
So the council decided to go out and ask for another.
No,
No.
they
On-
just
only
let
if
him
he couldn't
find
do it.
somebody.
Right, that's
He-
how we ended it.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it than to go find somebody, but he could.
Yeah, that was
okay.
my direction, is that if he couldn't add to his workload, then I was gonna
Okay,
go out
gotcha.
to bid at that point. So we're good there for the moment. Okay, CRA issues regarding memo and autonomy. This is just an update on where we are. We did get a response back from Jim LaRue. He's given us a price. We've already approved it. He has already assigned this to one of his coworkers, and there's already been dialogue, email dialogue between us and them on additional materials that they need. That was to get an opinion on the memo from Ms. Pruitt, as well as the autonomous board. So we are moving along on that. I don't have anything more to report at this time, so bear with us on that.
I also spoke to Mr. Buer about this, and we can follow up while this is going on. Jerry, you might be able to explain it better than me, but we can move on with an autonomous board while this memo is getting reviewed.
Okay.
So if he could work on that first, I mean, you know, if there is an order, you know, he can do them, if he's doing them parallel, that's fine. But if he's got to do them seriatim, then I would say, you know, have him do that first.
Okay. Noted. Church Service Center building, also known as the old firehouse.
That's another one, David, that on the insurance payment on that was, what was that? Oh, yeah, $280,000. So, and there's also been comments before that it needs to be condemned. You said it had a big hole in it that hadn't been patched up for I don't know how long, and I don't know how much damage it has, but that's another one that if we have $280,000 to rehab that the insurance paid.
And forgive me for being angry about this, but this angered me. I
Sure.
mean, really bad to ignore that whole building for as long as it was ignored, to let that mold manifest in there the way it did. Just really, really, that could have been, it was all preventable. Especially when you already had almost $300,000 to make roof repairs on it. So.
But anyway,
I inspected it last week, and the mayor went with me. We looked at it. It is awful, to say the least.
Yeah.
We didn't even try to go upstairs because of the condition of it. From the ground floor, we could see daylight in the building.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no roof on it at all. So it's been 100% raining straight down in that building since the hurricane.
So it's not salvageable?
Well, here's where I'm coming from on this. I'm personally involved with that building because my father and my grandfather worked there since the 1930s, and I was halfway raised there, right, Alan? And
Okay.
it's hard for me not to get upset about this and not to get passionate about it. So I don't know that I can look at it objectively. I don't want to be the one that has to tell my mother we're going to tear that building down, because Garrett and I were discussing this. If we did rebuild the building, for what purpose?
Yeah.
And that's a very valuable question. For what purpose are we going to use this for if we decide to put any money into it? We've got $300,000 that we can do something with it, which would probably clear out the damage, get the thing taken down to 4 bare walls at that point, and then you can decide what you want to do from there. But for what purpose? So, with that, I am meeting with some members of the State Firemen's Association board later this week to see if there's some interest maybe in partnering with us to do like a fire museum or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
It's a statewide organization. They've got a lot of resources that we don't have available to us, and there may be zero interest in that. But I don't want to close the door on it completely and say bye-bye to a building that was built in 1927. I just don't want to do that.
I just asked. Okay, thank you.
And again, I apologize for the passion that I have with this. It's just there's so much history in that building, and so many lives were saved because of that building, and so much property was saved because of it. I just hate to see it just go.
So just so the council knows, it's an all brick building on the outside. There is one addition to it, and it has all wood beams inside of it. So you have one giant beam that runs down the center of it, and a whole bunch of very large wood beams that come off of it. So all of that wood structure has now been exposed to rain for almost 2 years at this point. Not to mention any rot that may have occurred beforehand.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of any of that wood being able to be saved is probably zero. So you have a shell. So anything can be rebuilt. It's just a matter of what the cost would be.
So, but the church service center wouldn't be going in there, then are we still going to have a need for a church service center for distribution of stuff? Is that the
need
Yana
for-
building?
The need for the church service center has not gone away. They're working out of a two-car garage at the Methodist Church right now, just to keep their services going. So that need has not diminished. It's still a very, very valid need. We do have some options coming up in the very near future on the Yana property. Nothing has been designated or told to me to what to do with that. So at least for temporary purposes, we may be able to put them there in that facility, because
On what property was that?
the Yana office, Yana Concrete,
Okay.
right? They built a new office
Yeah.
building
Industrial?
on
Yeah.
the truck route.
It's industrial, yeah.
Does it have to be rezoned?
No.
Is it in industrial right now?
You would
or
never
is it
want to take away
C4?
industrial zoning. We don't have enough industrial.
We could
zoning.
stick, you can put them in the I-1.
You can always go down, you can't go up.
Right. It could be done.
So does the parking, well, the skate park that's across the street from the old police building, does that count as part of this discussion, or is that going to have to add it to the next set of
That-
city
yes.
manager things? Because that should be
That-
torn out.
Oh, agreed. And if y'all give me the go-ahead, I'll go ahead and tear that stuff out of there. That was built in 1993 to appease a faction of kids that wanted to do skateboarding, and all it's done now is just, it's a graffiti park.
We're coming up on a tape change, so if we're going to continue discussions, we're going to need to change the tape.
Yeah, I've got a couple more things.
How much time you got, Danielle?
Maybe 5 minutes,
All right.
if you're lucky.
Talk fast.
Don't think I can finish it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and change it.
Should we have a break?